Did I grab the wrong ones? I did. Dadgummit.
Speedy, Usain Bolt, baby.
Good morning.
Yeehaw! Hang on, I'm working on it. Hang on, God. It's just no patience in this building, man. Just relax a second.
Well, I mean, you're svelte now, so that run to the office was not a big deal, right? Oh, I hate that. That's not...
Good morning, upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. What's up, world? Welcome in. The Rob Brown Show's on your radio. It's the Fan Upstate. How do you do, my dudes and dudettes? Great to be with you. Happy Wednesday. What's up? How's everybody? Y'all doing good? Lonzo, how you doing, bud? How's life now that you started the show off with Fitty 3711 sound clips?
Poof.
Well, Heather. Love Heather. She's the best.
Life is improving, but not quite there yet.
Improving, but not quite there yet. What can I do to make your life better, Lonzo? What can I help with?
Talk to your voodoo brethren and shrink my head just enough so I have less room for snot in it.
I got you. Don't know what I can do about that, unfortunately.
I mean, is shrinking a head, is that like an all or nothing thing? Can you like just go down a size?
No, I don't think so. I've never, for the record, just so we're very clear, never done it before, never tried it before. That I remember.
Yeah, because I mean, they would make sure you forgot. So anyway, other than that, I'm good.
Lonzo's getting it handed to him this week.
It's
by nature.
You know what?
By his own physiology.
I will say I was much sicker in Ohio. So, I mean, I will settle for what this is like.
You were much sicker last year here. You almost died on me.
Well, there was that. But, I mean, that aside, I'm just talking about the allergies. Like 3 or 4 times a year, they hit me like this. In Ohio, I was always sick. So
it's because you lived in Ohio.
And it was cold all the time, except in the summer when it was not. But
which I'm sick of, and I don't even live there.
There you go.
We got a show lined up today, kids. We got a lot of stuff to get into. The Timberwolves won't die. They extend the series to game numero 5 with a win last night, 105-100 over the Dallas Mavericks. Lonzo remains perfect in his predictions of Dallas Mavericks games for the playoffs. The next time these two teams play in Minnesota, whatever Lonzo tells me is going to happen, I'm throwing my entire bank account out.
No.
Entire bankroll.
Do not do that.
Yep.
From the Boo Box Bad Memories, you should know that when stuff is on the line, I probably don't do so well.
I mean,
bet it all on Dallas. Yeah,
we're going with the Game 5 winner.
Yeah, let's do it.
Game 5 winner. We got a couple of days. We got a couple of days to let it simmer.
Well, they back Friday? Is that? Or is it
no, I think it's Thursday.
So,
I think it's just a 1-day turnaround.
I guess the day is just starting, so you would count this day. Okay.
The day is just starting. And painfully so for some of us, but
morning has broken like the first morning. That's right. You don't know that song, but I still say it anyway.
Listen to the Shakespeare of sports talk over here. We might have to add another nickname to you.
No, it was a Cat Stevens song.
And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. Is that Cat Stevens, right?
It is.
When you're coming home,
no,
son,
that's it. That's
when.
actually Harry Chapin, I think.
But we'll get together then, son. You know we'll have a good time then. Is it? Cats in the cradle.
It's Harry
It
Chapin.
Is. You're right. How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, Peace Train. That's Cat Stevens.
Yeah, I had a friend who hated Cats in the Cradle, so we would go to a place called Dan's Drive-In, which was not a drive-in. You'd go in, but it had, those things where you turn the knob and it has the name of the songs on it? You don't. Okay. They used to
wait.
Yeah.
Hold on. The thing where you turn the knob and it has the name of the songs on it.
All right, so it's like a mini jukebox, but it's not the jukebox. It's just a song selection. There's a knob, and you turn it, and it has the names printed of the songs on it, and you can pay for it there, and then it will play it through the jukebox.
Okay, so when I was growing up, we had a little 50s themed diner called the Shalimar Diner. And at the table, you had a mini jukebox, but it didn't have a wheel. It had inside, like up on the top, there were little tabs, and you turned it, and it was like turning the pages in a book. It was behind, like the book thing was behind glass, but up on the top, and every song had like A1, B4, whatever. And then down at the bottom, there was a row of letters and then a row of numbers, and you clicked the letter and the number of the song that was on the little book thing.
Just turn that on its side. It's the same thing.
Okay.
Instead of clicking on the top, you did it on the side, but it's the same exact thing. Yes. So I would play that song over and over again because I've been trolling since I was born.
My boy was just like me. Yeah. My boy grown up just like me.
So all right.
Yes.
All right. It's even. Yes. 1-1.
We got a show to get to. That was completely left-hand turned. Just completely left-hand turned. Welcome to the Rob Brown Show. It's just
I had a political joke there, but I will stay away from it.
Why? Let's just
because of what Cat Stevens is now.
A hippie? Is he a hippie now?
Oh,
I mean, is he a hippie now?
He was wanted by the law,
right?
For treason, I believe.
Treason?
I believe so. Yeah.
Cat Stevens
is now Remy Youssef or something like that.
I knew that. I knew he had changed his name. I knew he had. Did he change it back? Like all these CNN articles are about him.
Yeah, I believe he changed.
Stevens.
I believe he changed it back because Best of albums or something was coming out, so he had to get some money. I'm pretty sure it was treason.
Here, let's go one step further down the absolute rabbit hole that we're in right now. Remember the Titans had one of the greatest movie soundtracks of all time, and that is where I learned Peace Train, which is how I learned about Yusuf Islam or Cat Stevens, and then got big into the Cat Stevens stuff. And I got to tell you, I liked a lot of it.
A unique style, for sure. Very unique voice also.
He's from London.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. He had tuberculosis in 1969 and almost died from it.
And now he can thank that for giving him his voice, I guess. I don't know.
No, he was playing music before that in coffee houses and pubs.
I don't think they had coffee houses in the 60s, did they?
Yeah, man. Had coffee houses as long as they've had coffee. I assume. Anyway, now we've talked about Cat Stevens, Harry Chapin, the Remember the Titans soundtrack, and tableside jukeboxes. What a start. What a banger. What a start.
Why'd they get rid of those? I mean, I haven't been in a place.
Because of people like you.
Okay. All right.
That's why.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah. I mean,
because of Lonzo.
If you don't want the same song played over and over again, put your own quarter in there. I think it was actually a dime back then because, old.
There was a bar that I used to frequent down in Destin, Florida, called the Red Door Saloon. And it's not a chain, but there are red doors all over the place. Anyway,
I thought a red door meant something else, but
I have no idea. I just know the Red Door Saloon was on the Destin Harbor, and it was a great bar because it was the only bar that stayed open until like 4 a.m. and they would serve you like 50-cent shots. It was a great bar. It was a great bar. When everybody that worked in bars was done working in bars, they would go to that bar. And they had a jukebox. And I very much remember it was one of the first bars that allowed you, oh God, I'm glad this wasn't around for Lonzo's friends when he was a Ute. But you could put an app on your phone and you could control the jukebox from your phone. You didn't even have to get up and walk across the bar to go to it. But this bar did something brilliant when that started. They put it on the phone. It had the entire jukebox. And at this point, obviously, jukeboxes are digital. So they have a bazillion songs in there. If you can think of it, it's on the jukebox. But the other thing that it did was it had an option. I don't know if this is still a thing or not, but Red Door had it. It had an option where if a song started playing and you did not like the song, you could do one of two things. You could pay twice what the song costs to play to stop it and go to the next song, or you could vote that song ended, and if enough people in the bar all voted that they wanted that song to stop playing, the song would stop playing. It's like it was a Alonzo protection device is what it was. And it was brilliant. It was brilliant.
Except for I don't pick bad songs, so everyone would vote yes for anything that I pick.
You don't pick bad songs, but you pick one good song over and over and over and over and over again.
It's kind of like radio, right?
Yeah, it's very much like radio.
Certain stations will play the same song every 15 minutes.
Here's Taylor.
Got to get that Kim.
Again. All right, seriously. Mavericks, Timberwolves, last night, 105-100. Minnesota survives. This game will be, or game 5, this series will head back to the Lando Lakes as the Mavs will get another app to put it away. I'm going to break this thing down, and it's going to be real simple for you. And we can get into a little bit more of the X's and the O's a little later in the show. But on its surface, this game is not that hard to break down. Karl-Anthony Towns decided he wanted to play basketball finally. And without Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford couldn't do it by himself. That's it. That's the game. That's it. The neck sprain to Derek Lively was the best thing that happened to the Minnesota Timberwolves, because without the second of the Twin Towers in there, Daniel Gafford had to kind of play it, had to play a slow burn. And because he was playing slow, and because he had to solely be responsible for defense under the basket, Karl-Anthony Towns was able to be Karl-Anthony Towns again. The big cat made his arrival on the scene. Took him a while, took him a little bit to get up and get going. But when KAT got his ACT together last night, all of a sudden, would you looky here, the Timberwolves are winning a game again. Now, I don't think it matters because of exactly what we were talking about just a minute ago. Theoretically, Derek Lively should be back for game 5 back in Minnesota. Now, the good news for Minnesota, obviously, is playing at home court and having their backs against the wall, because they are, and this is true, I looked it up, still down 3-1 and very capable of being eliminated in the next game. In fact, 100% more likely to be eliminated in the next round than the Dallas Mavericks are. Now that they're going back to the Land O'Lakes, now that they're going back to Minnesota, they get to play back in front of that crowd. And let's just say what it is. The Minnesota crowd has been exceptional. The crowd at Minnesota has been enjoyable to watch on a TV screen. You know how sometimes, not all the time, but you know how sometimes the energy of a building translates across the television, right? And you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they fly the drone cam over Rocky Top for the start of a Tennessee game against Alabama, and that crowd is just a popping. It's like when the Cowboys play at Carolina and the Cowboys fans have that home field advantage in Charlotte. You know what I'm talking about, where the juice of a crowd comes across the TV. That's been Minnesota, and it's been fun to watch. The two so far, I'd say, that I would say that has been the most true about in these playoffs. Not just these, but the other playoffs. But this playoff season, Minnesota and New York for the Rangers. Rangers, by the way, drop a decision on the road at Florida last night. The Panthers bring the Eastern Conference Stanley Cup Series back to level at 2 games apiece. We'll talk some NHL hockey later on in the show. But it's great for Minnesota that they get to go home. It's great that they get a little juice, because legit in the last 2 games, really more in game 3 than in game 4, because having your back against the wall and facing elimination, there's not really a better recipe for creating a little, what do we want to call it? Urgency in any team being up against the wall, against elimination, when the other team is not, creates a little urgency. It did it for the Pacers in Game 4. They just didn't have the dogs to compete with Boston in that game. And it did so last night for Minnesota, who absolutely do have the dogs to compete with Dallas. Now they have that same urgency. Well, I don't know, same urgency, because I do think there is a little bit more urgency in preventing the sweep as opposed to getting just eliminated in general. But if you take the urgency of not getting eliminated in 5, and you place that in front of that crowd, and I think Game 5 likely going to be a game I stay away from as a bettor. Likely as a gambler, a game I stay away from. As a basketball fan, a game I'm not going to miss. A game of the entire postseason, great one. This feels like the most must-watch game, because I will say this. I do not think Minnesota's coming back to win this series. Coming back down from 3-0 it just does not happen. But I am willing to make a prognostication here. If Minnesota wins Game 5, they will also win Game 6, and this will come down to a Game 7, which I think Dallas wins, but I could be wrong. We got a lot of basketball between here and there. But if Minnesota finally breaks Lonzo's streak of calling Dallas Mavericks games to a 100% efficiency rating throughout this postseason, and if the Timberwolves are able to push it to a Game 6 back in Dallas, I think they win that game too. I think they can get back-to-back. I think they can get 3 in a row. And what felt like it was over 2 nights ago when Dallas went up 3-0, I think could absolutely end up in 7. But it's to me, whether Lively is back or not. And I will say, if he's not, Dallas cannot win. They cannot win if Derek Lively does not play.
Wow. Okay.
They can't. That's their whole game, right? It's like Minnesota. If they lose Anthony Edwards, they can't win. Indiana lost Tyrese Halliburton. They can't win. New York lost Jalen Brunson. They can't win. There are guys ordinarily, and don't get me wrong, saying that about Lively doesn't somehow make it untrue about Luka Doncic. Obviously, if Luka goes down, the Mavs cannot win either. But the Mavs' success has been entirely predicated based on the fact that there is no point in 48 minutes of live National Basketball Association basketball. There is no point in 48 minutes when Gafford and Lively are both good to go that Dallas doesn't have an edge in the paint, especially against Rudy Gobert, who is not a good offensive basketball player. So if the best you got in the big spot is Rudy Gobert, who cannot score points, last night Rudy Gobert should have had the playoff game of his life. He should have had 20 plus. He ended up with what? I think 10 in that game, 11, 12, whatever it was. If they can't do it without Lively available, then they can't do it. They did do it without Lively. That's the only variable. If Derek Lively comes back in Game 6, Dallas has got a shot to end it. If they do not end it there, I think this game goes to 7. If Derek Lively does not play, the Mavs cannot win Game 6 or Game 5 or Game 6 or Game 7 or any other game they play against Minnesota. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Going to be busy. Stick around.
All right. If for some reason the host goes long when the bet is playing, try to grab the same bet and put it in channel 3 and like fade it in before the other one ends.
I was gonna say, so where'd you pull that one? From right over here?
No, from
over there. That's what I was trying to point out. Yeah. And what was the name of that one?
It was this. So because it's I mean, they're only supposed to be a minute long. Okay. But it happens sometimes. Yeah.
I was just trying to make sure, I'm trying to look at everything.
Good.
counting points or calories, no exercising, no prepackaged meals, no HCG, no drugs, and no surgery. Go to mynewlifeweightloss.com now.
Hey, it's Rob Brown. When I started with New Life about a month ago, I was north of 260 pounds. Today, under 232 and a half. The shirt I'm wearing right now did not fit me back on my birthday in late February. Right now, it looks good. And here's the thing. New Life has not left me unfulfilled. They created a plan that works for me, and I've loved it.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month. That's a half a pound to a pound per day. For your free private weight loss consultation, call 864-719-2550. That's 864-719-2550 or mynewlifeweightloss.com.
At Lowe's, save big.
Trey, what's up, big dog? Welcome in. Good to have you, partner.
What's a pneumatic nailer?
Nail gun.
So. But it's a cool name. Got a pneumatic nailer.
Pneumatic, as in air-driven.
Yeah, but my nailer is pneumatic.
Nailer, I hardly know her. Hey-o!
Good night, everybody.
If your waitress, try the veal.
Chips Ahoy and Nutter Butter. And last but not least, repeat.
So are they saying try the veal because no one's trying the veal and they're trying to get the veal?
I think it's because in like that type of old school comedy club, the veal would have like been the most expensive thing on a menu, so you're pushing it, right?
Ah, okay.
At least that's how all the restaurants I worked in was. You always pushed one special and the most expensive thing. Cody Decker at 7:40. Hayden Mario at 9 o'clock.
Decker on stream?
Both on stream.
Okay.
Chumba.
Good morning.
Mike, what's up, brother? Welcome in. Great to have you, buddy.
What's up, brother?
Brother.
Since I have the sinus thing going, I can actually do the brother. Brother.
Hey, Big Daddy, how you doing?
Real good, Corey LaJoy. Thanks for asking. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. Rob and the great one, Lonzo, here with you.
Nope.
On a lovely upstate Wednesday morning. I mentioned we got a busy show for you coming up today on the show. Couple of special guests coming up on the show. Both half of the Bet for the Cycle radio program, which airs every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL network, coming up at 7:40 this a.m. We will talk a little Major League Baseball with former Major League Baseball player and my co-host, colleague, comrade, and friend, Cody Decker, joins us at 7:40. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll be joined by Hayden Mario, the executive producer of Bet for the Cycle. The former executive producer of Bet for the Cycle.
Wow, that's painful. You said both half. I'm trying to figure out how that works.
Both halves.
Yeah, but it's not. But it's not really because you're in there, so that makes it. There's three. It was
the other halves. The other halves.
2/3 of
2/3. That's it.
Yeah, and you would be the other third.
That's it.
I'm just
two of the other thirds.
I'm channeling my inner.
The other 2/3.
My inner Chris this morning.
You really are. You really are.
Hey, Rob, I just wanted you to be right.
Yeah, that's it. I have a question because I've decided to start this show off very unseriously, obviously. Craig Counsell. This is a baseball story, but it's really not. It's really a story and then a question about rivalries because it's peak off-season radio time. Craig Counsell is the former manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. Craig Counsell was in Milwaukee for a few years. The Brewers won the division a few years. They didn't really do anything in the postseason because they were always like good, but like not that good, but like good enough, but like not really good enough. But Craig Counsell was a big reason why. Craig Counsell did an excellent job of guiding what has been consistently one of the most boring and mediocre of Major League Baseball squads into the playoffs. Craig Counsell was very light during his time as the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers. And then last offseason, in what was, I was going to say almost, I don't even know if it's almost, it may just straight up outright be a shocking decision. In what ended up being a bit of a shocking moment, Craig Counsell up and left Brew City. Up and left the Brew Crew, said, yo, I'm out, dog. And everybody was like, whoa, okay. And, you know, when it was announced that he was considering leaving, there were thoughts maybe he's going to head to New York City. Maybe he'll go out to LA and take over the Angels next year. They needed a new manager at the time. There were a lot of thoughts at where Craig Counsell will end up, and then Craig Counsell ended up a member of the Chicago Cubs. Cubs. Ends up the new manager of the Cubbies. The Cubbies are, of course, a direct rival of the Milwaukee Brewers. Well, this past weekend, the Chicago Cubs made their first divisional trip to Milwaukee of the season. They headed up to Brew City, USA, and played a little 3-game away series against the Brew Crew. The Brewers, trying to be classy, decided to play a little thank you, Craig video up on the Titantron, or Jumbotron for you non-wrestling people, up on the Jumbotron. And when they did so, and they played the little tribute video to Craig Counsell, the Brewers fans lost their bleeping minds. They started booing. They started hissing. They started chanting things that I can't say on the radio. It was very, let's say, non-FCC compliant. But they, yeah.
Hiss. Hiss. Hiss.
There you have it. Live sound from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as the Cubs came to visit. So they played a tribute video. The Brew Crew fans began to chant, hiss, boo, and straight up Craig Counsell, their former manager, who left them to go to a rival and be their new manager.
I still play AEW for all of this.
I don't. Adults like to say bad words sometimes.
Yeah, but the chanting has gotten worse since AEW started. I'm just saying. They gave freedom to people to do that sort of thing.
People have always done this sort of thing. I have been to many college football games.
America.
You're damn right. You're damn right. America. So there began this conversation across the internet that was, I'll say, amusing to me. There were two groups of people that got into it on social media after this whole thing happened in Milwaukee. There was Group A that said, oh, you classless, low-life, degenerate individuals. You should all be strung up and hung by your toes for the audacity, for the vulgarity, for the gross that you put on display for booing a man who was your former manager and who was asked to take a turd and turn it into a diamond, because the Brewers roster was always like, you know, okay. Like it was okay. It wasn't good. Like it was okay, you know? And then there was the other side that said, we don't give a if the roster was bad. We don't give a if the ownership was bad. We don't care about any of that. We don't even care that you left. We understand why you would have left Milwaukee because all of those things are true. It's that you left Milwaukee and you went to the north side of Chicago and you became a manager of not just a rival, but a manager of the rival. You are now the manager of the rival. You deserve every and that you get.
I prescribe to the Rashad Beard method of hater mode activated.
Certified hater mode.
Yeah, I mean, you left. Come get it. I mean, get all the. You deserve every bit of it, especially if he did, as you said, left in the middle of the night.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I go full
Certified hater mode
on that guy. You know, it's again, it's one thing to leave. You know, I look at, for instance, soon to be former New Orleans Saints wide receiver and Ohio State Buckeye Michael Thomas. And I understand why Mike Thomas is leaving. The Michael Thomas. I understand why Michael I understand why Michael Thomas is leaving. I do. I get it. All right. His welcome was a bit worn out. Obviously, the Saints could not figure out how to use him in a way that kept him healthy for more than 17 to 45 seconds at any given time. And also, Dennis Allen. I hate you so much.
Certified hater mode.
So he decides to move on. And you know what? 100% I understand it. And it's much like I said yesterday. And some people thought I was being sarcastic. I was not. I very much hope that Angel Hernandez enjoys his retirement. All right? I do. Doesn't mean I don't think he did an awful job at his job. But I do. I hope he enjoys his retirement. What I will say is that I understand Michael Thomas leaving New Orleans. I wish him the best of luck in his future endeavors. However, if Mike Thomas signs on with the Atlanta Falcons, that guy, right? Like, it's a rival. It ain't personal. It's a little personal, right? I mean, with Mike Thomas, it's different because it was kind of a mutual parting of ways between New Orleans and Michael Thomas. That's one thing, right? It's another thing when a dude like actively leaves. It's another thing when a dude actively leaves. And again, I wouldn't be mad at him for leaving. I get it. The Brew Crew had for years put together mediocre roster after mediocre roster after mediocre roster. They were always happy to just be at the dance, even if they didn't get asked to dance by the pretty girl ever. So leaving in order to pursue higher levels of success anywhere else, I get it. But dog, if you're gonna go to the other side of the state line and you're gonna put on the blue of the bad guys, you are gonna rep the rivals. Yeah, you're gonna catch that smoke when you come back. You are absolutely going to get hated on the minute you walk back in our house. Like, how were people shocked that Brewers fans did this? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show with the Fan Upstate. And the haters gonna hate.
What? Yeah, he's set like right over there. That was cool.
Big old SOB. Not as big as Damien. Damien was a hoss. Beast mode.
Damien, not a problem miking.
No.
Gunther, very soft.
I really thought Damien was going to be more like.
Yeah, he was.
You know
That dude was booming.
I really thought he was going to be one of those guys that, like, he's got a deep voice, but it's real quiet. Oh, no. He had no issue enunciating.
Yes, it was.
Where is he from originally?
Puerto Rico.
Oh, that's right. I knew that. I think he's doing a good job so far.
I think Drew's going to beat him.
Did you see the goof up on the tweet machine?
Southbound 85.
The advertisement for like that match.
This is a mile marker 46. You'll start slowing down.
What's it say?
It's advertising like, I guess it's like a dark match at the Garden. And Drew McIntyre replied to it with words we can't, with a word we can't say. And it matches for after Clash of the Castle. But I sent it to my buddy, and he's just like, just you know, there's a note under that says card.
Subject change.
Yeah. And I'm like, that makes sense. My bad.
Is the nation's leader in regenerative medicine. I am talking lasting joint pain relief with no.
Not only do they say that for everything, they also put it on every ticket.
I've never gotten to go to a show in person. I've always wanted to. When's the next time they're supposed to be back in town?
It'll be SmackDown next, won't it? Don't they usually rotate?
Should be.
When do you think they'll be back?
We go to the well and look at upcoming things and just keep scrolling.
Because I'd like to go to one of their shows in person one day. I've never gotten to go.
They are fun.
They're blessed.
I didn't go last time because I can't. I'm too old. It's a new time slot, but I'll go on a Friday since I don't have to get up as early on Saturday. Rob went.
Yep. Regretted it the next day, but didn't.
The boss is usually there in the front row, every one of them. But
He didn't go to this one.
No, he told me he wasn't going. I am guessing that we didn't get any tickets, and that's why he didn't go.
No, he's got to buy those, right? He's got to.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know, Trey. I don't know if he's the biggest signing.
Did he sign?
I don't think so. Or wouldn't there have been like multiple reports out about that last night?
I would think so.
Yeah, I didn't see any reports.
See website for additional details. Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze.
I will say I did like his
identifies candidates with the right skills,
line that he had last night.
I didn't hear it.
Invite them to apply.
And then I won't spoil it.
Yeah, I just saw on social media this morning that he showed up. I watched the first part of NXT this morning before I came to work. I'm gonna watch the rest when I go back. Good morning, Keegan. How are you today?
Keegan, what's up, big dog? Oh, Trick got whooped.
Yes. See, now you're spoiling.
I didn't say nothing.
No, Trey did.
It's easy to bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. From the Ingalls Market Studio, the Fan.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM
The Infinity Sports.
Yeah, I got a lot of stuff I want to get to today, but I just got a text during that last segment that I want to address, because it's going to sound like segments I've done before, but that's okay because I do think it is importante. We talked in the last segment about Craig Counsell's return to Milwaukee, his first trip back since he left the Brewers to become the manager of their rivals, the Chicago Cubs. The Brewers tried to take the high road. They did a little thank you, Craig video and, tried to get the thank you, Craig chant started and all that. And the Brewers fans wanted no part of it.
By the way, they need to stop with the tribute videos too. I mean, if you want to do it after they retire and they come back, but if they're still active, stop it.
I mean, I get it. Like, I think if Craig Counsellman had maybe like won a World Series there, it's one thing, right? Like if he had brought them back a commissioner's trophy, if he had brought them back, as Rob Manfred called it, a big chunk of metal, then I could see it. But yeah, I actually don't disagree with that. Here's what I wanted to address, though. We got a text from a member of the Armada, lovely listener out there somewhere across the upstate of South Carolina, who said, Rob, look, it's just like college sports, no loyalty. Go get that bag. Get over it. And Texter, I want to respond to you by saying, right. Yes. Accurate. Correct. It has been, I don't want to use the word entertaining because it's not. I mean, it is in a weird way. I'm a big fan of sociology. I like addressing, I like studying, I like learning about the way that people think and why people think the way they think and how it impacts their life and the lives of those around them. And I think that that's really a life skill that all of us should embrace. And so from that perspective, the last couple of years in college sports have been very, I'm going to say, entertaining for me. It has been entertaining for me, not pleasurable, not enjoyable, because I think you can be entertained by things that you also don't take pleasure in. It has been entertaining for me because that is a realization that I had years ago. Years ago, I had the realization that college sports are very similar to pro sports in one predominant aspect. Loyalty is a trait reserved for fans and nobody else. It is a trait that describes fans and nobody else. Now, that's not to say there aren't players on your college football roster that aren't loyal. Of course there are. I'm sure that every roster in every sport at every college, and honestly, this is probably more true about the smaller sports than, say, football or basketball. But I think every team, every sport, every roster, every school has kids on it that are genuinely loyal to the school that they signed on with. And it could be for a variety of reasons. It may be because that kid grew up a fan of that school. He's a legacy, right? His old man played there, and his old man played there, and his old man played there, and they're just the most recent in line to come play there. Brad Brownell just signed a kid to come play for Clemson who is a legacy player. His granddaddy played at Clemson like back in the 60s. I am sure that that young cat has some legacy of loyalty to the Block Orange Sea, for sure. But a lot of kids aren't. A lot of kids aren't loyal. A lot of kids are playing there. How many times have I told you? There are 3 reasons why a kid picks a school. I call them the 3 C's of recruiting. There are 3 C's: coach, culture, and compensation. That's why a kid plays for your school. Now, if you provide that kid with a coach that treats him well, that he connects with, that he likes, that'll help buy some loyalty. If you have a culture around your school that the kid finds it easy to buy into, he will probably grow some loyalty to your school. And if that athlete is compensated in a way that he believes is fair to his value, regardless of what you think his value is, to his value or her value. Because I think this is probably true of most college athletes. If you compensate them in a way that they feel is a genuine reflection of their value, if you do all three of those 3 C's, you will likely breed loyalty in the athletes that are at your school. If you fail to do one of the 3 C's, then that kid will go find somewhere else to play. Because as I've mentioned, loyalty is a two-way street. Loyalty is not something that someone gives to another entity without expectation of that loyalty being returned. If you are loyal to an entity and that entity is not loyal back to you, we have a word for that in the 2024 vernacular. It's called being a simp. You don't want to be called a simp. For those of you who are not necessarily caught up with the 2024 lingo, back in the day, you would have called it being a chump. You don't want to be a chump. When you're a chump, all your friends make fun of you. When you're a chump, it's a bad look, man. You don't want to be a chump. Like, unless that's your thing, and then do whatever you want. But you don't want to be a chump. You don't want to be a simp. And giving loyalty in one direction without getting loyalty back in the other direction, that's being a simp. That's being a chump. So this whole concept, like in the professional world, I would say this here. I'll bring Lonzo into this conversation. Lonzo is a fan of a professional sporting organization. I think all of us kind of reach a spot where watching players come and go, we realize that's just part of the gig, right? Like you don't get your feelings all hurt when a guy like, I don't know, a very fast wide receiver goes, I'm not getting what I want out of this deal, so I'm going to head down because the most accurate quarterback in the National Football League plays in Miami. I'm going to go play for him. Don't you just kind of look and go, all right, dog, good luck. See ya.
Absolutely. And then the rest of the media says there's no way you can win without that guy. And they were wrong. Disrespect. He said he didn't want to be a side chick.
I mean, and that's fair. We don't, right? We don't. But the point here is, from a professional standpoint, that's kind of how we look at it. As NFL first guys, I think that's kind of the attitude. And I do wonder if, to some degree, some of us that have accepted the transfer portal and kids leaving to go to better opportunities at a different school, if we took it a little less violently, because as NFL first dudes, it happens to our favorite team all the time. Every year, somebody leaves your team to go somewhere else. And every year, somebody from somewhere else comes down to join your team.
I get the college fandom, the college loyalty, but I think eventually that's going to go away because it's passed down from generation to generation. And when you think of your team, you think of your mom and your dad, and you think of tailgating, you think of all that kind of stuff. I think that kind of loyalty is going to go away from the people who are watching, and eventually they're going to realize it's just a business like anything else.
I don't agree with that aspect. I think loyalty, as far as players goes, has never been there. It's just that it used to be you had to stick it out once you got there.
Yeah, but
you were just there.
But for college, it's not. It's more about the team than it is the player. I'm talking about the loyalty. They're loyal to the colors.
Fans?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I would agree. So for instance, I can, as I often do, use me as an example. All my family went to LSU. All my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, or at least the ones that were allowed, went to LSU.
Well,
so
some like in prison or something?
No, they're just real dumb.
Okay. All right.
They're just real dumb.
All right.
They couldn't get in. all my not dumb family members went to LSU. And so I grew up an LSU fan because that's where all my family members went. And then my family, when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, moved to the Sunshine State of Florida. And when I got there and I graduated high school and it was time to pick a college and I applied, I actually got accepted to go to LSU. I was very excited to go to LSU. However, I did not get any academic scholarships that would have taken me to LSU. And then one day I got the acceptance letter from LSU. I was very excited about it. I remember it. I was standing in my kitchen on Shalimar Point Drive where I grew up, and I got the letter with the purple LSU logo on it, and I was like, bang, got in, let's go. Open it up, sure did, got in, and then it said, go ahead and go to lsu.edu or whatever it was and register. So I did, and then I looked, and it turns out for the major that I wanted to pursue, if I wanted to go to the Louisiana State University and continue the legacy of Tigers in my family, going to cost me about $400,000 to do so. Now, fortunately, Rob Brown wasn't, I was dumb. That's why I didn't get any academic scholarships. But I was like street smart, right? I was streetwise. I grew up on the golf course, son. I had the street smarts.
West side or east side?
Back nine, son. Back nine crew up in this house.
Okay. Throw up a back nine side.
Back nine crew.
Okay. All right.
So I grew up on the back nine. That's the dumbest thing I've ever done on the radio. Anyway, I realized that the major that I wanted to pursue at the time was not going to provide me with a job out of college that was going to make $400,000+ worth of student debt a good deal. So Rob Brown decided to go to an in-state school, get his degree in the Sunshine State of Florida. And while I still have my soft spot for LSU, that is not where my loyalty lies. Go UWF Argonauts, right? So the point here is my family, very loyal to LSU. I wanted to go to LSU. I wanted to be a Tiger in Baton Rouge. But realistically speaking, I wasn't going to say, hey, LSU, if you let me in, I'll be like the 19th Cronin / Brown / whatever that goes to your school. I mean, I could have said that, but do you think that they would have been like, oh, that's wonderful. We'll cut your student loans down by like 90% to make them reasonably. Hell no, they wouldn't have done that, right? And loyalty's a two-way street.
Maybe they went, oh, it's another one.
Another one of them.
Let's jack up the price a little bit more.
That might be true. They might have been like, yeah, it's $750,000 now. You idiot. Point here is nobody looked at me and went, Rob Brown, you're disloyal. Rob Brown, you're turning your back. Rob Brown, you don't have ethics anymore. They looked and they went, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's actually the smart way to handle that. That's actually a good call, Rob Brown, you high school lady killer, you. That's a great call. That's exactly what they would have said. And nobody busted me up, right? So the whole concept of loyalty doesn't matter. No. Loyalty is still there. But if you want the kids on your football team or your basketball team or your baseball team or your track and field team or your swimming and diving team or your cross country team or whatever team you are trying to pimp and promote for your school, if you want them to be loyal, you must breed loyalty. Kids nowadays are just looking and going, respect ain't given, it's earned. It's not given, it's earned. It's a two-way street. You want my respect, you earn it. You want my loyalty, you show me loyalty back. And I don't have any problem with that.
Hustle, loyal, respect. That's what he was going for. We will have a Game 5 in the Western Conference after Minnesota avoided elimination with a 105-100 win over Dallas. Karl Anthony Towns had his best game of the series, scoring 25 with 7 rebounds, while Anthony Edwards once again led Minnesota with 29, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Luka Doncic recorded another triple-double in the loss. In the NHL, another overtime game between New York and Florida saw the Panthers bring the Eastern Conference to a 2-2 tie with a 3-2 win over the Rangers. Sam Reinhart finished a power play less than a minute and a half into the overtime period for the win. Hey, I don't know if you knew this, but we have a brand new show. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 for Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. And for some reason, AI, I just don't get it. And it's all Wire to Wire. So the plan now is for you to jump in at 8 o'clock, but at some point I may go, nah, you should do it now. Just letting you know. Probably 8 o'clock, though. I mean, definitely 8 o'clock, but maybe earlier. Like I said, I will just move my chair back. So.
On the action now. And if you use my last name Brown as your code, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. That's code Brown for a $100 first deposit match. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for details. Been thinking of updating your tinted, dinged, scratched, or just plain outdated wheels? There's no better time than R&R Tire Express in Spartanburg Customer Appreciation Celebration this Saturday. Choose from chrome, machine, painting, racing performance, even off-road wheel and tire packages. They'll have Brothers Catering, ice cream, R&R prizes, tire safety checks, even $1,500 worth of R&R gift certificates to give away. 1280 Asheville Highway in Spartanburg. Visit rnrtires.com. Jazz returns to Main Street, June 7th through 8th, celebrating music, community, and culture.
If I'm understanding this updates it as it goes, right?
What updates what?
This right here, or is it constantly up? Does this automatically upload, or do you have to manually upload this one too?
No, I'm just putting the title in. It automatically happens in the app.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah.
I just didn't word my question very well. That's all it was.
I got you though. I understood.
Like I said, I struggle in the morning. Yeah, Rob. Our alma mater play November 9th.
He knows. He knows.
Oh, UWF? Oh, I'll be there.
Yeah.
You'll be there.
However, yeah. They played up here this year, didn't they?
This past season.
Yeah.
This year. This is North Greenville's last year. Because Conference Carolinas is going to be sponsoring football.
I was actually going to go to that game, and then it ended up being that I was informed that it is a dry campus, so my tailgate party would have been lame. So then I just watched it at home because I didn't know anybody else that was going to be there. My brother wanted to come up for it, but he couldn't make it, or else I would have gone.
Yeah, that North Greenville goes down to Pensacola this
Yep.
year. That's second to last game of the season.
Why am I dying over here?
It's not my fault. I know you're going to blame me.
Lonzo!
I'm going to be right. Hey,
It's just allergies.
absolutely brutal.
Maybe we're both allergic to Justin.
I didn't consider that.
Yes, it could be.
Y'all sound like a waiting room.
Thank you. Whoever said that.
At least you didn't say old men in the park.
Right. Struggling. What the hell? Lonzo's infected me.
See,
infected me.
You give me that evil eye when I know a bunch of people having allergy problems right now. I did not cause your allergy problem.
Like a zombie infection over here.
Ooh, like the zombie cicadas. I wonder if they're all dead now.
Can I tell you the truth? Haven't heard.
Yeah, I think they may all be dead now. I noticed that this morning that they're just gone. They have spread their zombie seed. And so I don't know if zombie cicadas actually, there's a story that they spread through fornication, a disease that's zombie disease. So there may be undead cicadas out there right now, and they just don't make noise.
You watched? Did you watch or play Last of Us?
No, it didn't interest me.
Okay,
I know what it's about. Yeah,
Okay.
it just didn't interest me.
So the concept of that whole thing is real, right? There's a I don't know if it's a virus or I think it's like a fungal spore that is capable of rewiring the brains of insects and basically
by the
taking
way,
over their bodies.
I am not joking about the zombie cicadas. We did a story on it a couple of weeks
No,
ago.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. Now, I do not know if what is discussed regarding the cicadas is like cicada only, but there's been talk over the years about this fungal infection that can take over the brain of an insect. There's one specifically that works on ants, and what it forces the ant to do is like crawl up to the top of the tree into the sunlight, and then it just like paralyzes the ant and uses it to grow. There's another one that causes caterpillars to crawl up to birds that eat that caterpillar, and then the bacteria, it reproduces inside of the bird, it gets dropped off, infects another caterpillar. It's wild. And the thought here is that part of the reason that these things have not moved to being capable of infecting humans yet is because our internal body temperature is too high for them to stay alive. But that if one ever evolves to be able to withstand the internal body temperature of a human, we could be next.
Yeah, but
isn't that fun?
People
Isn't that fun?
People in minor league ballparks are eating cicadas. So I mean, so if the zombie cicada disease could spread to humans, it will be because they're being ingested. So I mean,
I've eaten crickets before. It's not bad. They're crunchy.
Not
bad.
I've only seen a couple of cicadas, and they've been dead laying either on the steps or on my car.
I guess I got lucky. I have not seen nor heard one so far. I thought it was later in the year. I didn't know it had happened already.
It's been like a symphony. I will go home and just listen.
Well, you live on a compound. Lonzo lives on a.
But I noticed this morning that I didn't hear them.
You can't find Lonzo's house on Google Maps, is what I'm saying.
You can't, which is awesome. Well, maybe in the winter if you look really hard.
7:03 in the morning. You are 56 minutes and 22 seconds away from having to clock into work. And when you get there, you're going to walk down the hall. You're going to take that first break. You're going to go find Kathy. Kathy works over in bookkeeping, but she's your go-to for sports, right? She's a big Georgia fan, and you love talking sports with Kathy on your break. So when Kathy comes down the hall and she says, "Hey, did you hear about this thing?" and she brings up the sports story of the day, you're going to be able to say, "Yeah, Kathy, I sure did, because I was listening to the Rob Brown Show at 7:04 this morning when they did this."
Are you ready for the playbook of the peculiar, the almanac of the absurd, and the encyclopedia of the extraordinary? Well, you better be, because we're diving headfirst into the 3 top stories that will have your coworkers saying,
"The fun just begun."
before they take their first bathroom break.
No.
Here we go. Welcome to the water cooler cheat sheet on the Fan Upstate.
It's the water cooler cheat sheet, the top 3 sports stories that you need to know before you get to the office and start talking with Kathy from bookkeeping about whatever you want to talk about on your break. A break, by the way, you've earned. You've earned that break, all right? Just by showing up at work, just by getting there, you deserve a break, if you ask me. Let's jump right into item number 1. 2 playoff games last night, one on the ice, one on the hardwood. We start with the National Hockey League, where the Florida Panthers get the 3-2 overtime win over the New York Rangers and draw the Eastern Conference Finals level at 2 games apiece. The scoring was open, 8 and some change into the first period when Vincent Trocheck was able to notch the early goal on the power play when it made it 1-0 Rangers. Sam Bennett and Carter Verhaeghe would get a couple back in the second period with Gustav Forsling and Matthew Tkachuk on the assist, respectively. Florida, however, would not go away. 3.5 into the third period, Alexis Lafreniere was able to knock one through off the Adam Fox helper. That brought us to a piece and to the overtime, and it was very tense down in Sunrise, Florida. It was very tense because you'll remember the Cats have already lost an overtime game at home in this series. To drop another one would not only send them back to NYC on a 2-game losing streak, but it would also create a situation where they would go back to New York on a 2-game losing streak and facing elimination. They needed to wait just 1 minute and 12 seconds into the third period to find out that no, it's now a 3-game series when Sam Reinhart got the Alexander Barkov helper on the power play, and the Cats get the 3-2 win over the Rangers. This series will now flip back to New York. The Rangers have rescued home ice advantage by way of splitting with the Cats back down in sunny South Florida. So it is now a 3-game series with New York hosting the first. Over on the hardwood in the association, Minnesota stays alive with a 105-100 win over Luka and his Mavs last night. Doncic did record yet another playoff triple-double, 28 points, 15 boards, and 10 assists in this one. But unfortunately, nobody else really able to make up the points that were lost when Derek Lively was assigned to sit out due to that sprained neck after he took a Rudy Gobert knee to the back of the noggin back in Game 3. He was declared out for this game. They hope to have him back by game number 4. But without him, Daniel Gafford had to carry the majority of the responsibility, played 31 minutes in this one, 6 of 6 from the field. Did not see the charity stripe, just 12 points for the big man in the middle. Over on the other side, without Derek Lively down there, without the repeated fresh legs checking in at the 5 spot, Karl-Anthony Towns decided he was going to finally show up. 25 points on 9 of 13 from the floor, 4 of 5 from the arc, and a trio of free throws to go along with it. He ended up with 5 boards as well.
He heard your pep talk. That's what it is.
The one where I said, stop sucking if you want a chance.
Yeah. And so he's like, okay, I got Rob Brown. I got to do this.
I'm glad to help. Glad to be a motivator. I'm like the, what was that? What was the self-help guy? The one with the real big head. I'm like the Tony Robbins of Timberwolves. Go out there and score, cat. And he did. 29 from Ant-Man Edwards as well. 11 of 25, 205 from deep.
Is that what Tony Robbins
I'm not going to lie. I've never seen a Tony Robbins speech in my life.
I've seen him, but I've never heard him, I don't think.
The most exposure to Tony Robbins in my entire life came from the movie Shallow Hal a few years back. That's really it. There was also a Family Guy episode that he did a cameo in, and that's pretty much the extent of time. I never looked at Tony Robbins and thought, that guy can make my life better. That guy can make me a better version of me. Only Jack Daniels does that. So 29 points for Ant-Man. They got 13, 10, and 14 from Gobert, McDaniels, and Conley, respectively last night. The Timberwolves shot just shy of 53%, but more importantly, 45.8% from deep on 11 of 24. Over on the flip side, the Mavs lifted up 43-point shots. They connected on 11. That is a 35% connect rate. That's not going to do it, man. It's not going to do it. We talked about Boston, right? Like Boston put up, I think in that last game, 44 three-pointers. The difference is Boston's a team predicated on the three and then playing from that opportunity inside. Dallas is not. And for whatever reason last night, and I know a lot of them came late when they were trying to close that gap down inside the last couple of minutes of the game. But for whatever reason, last night Dallas decided that they just needed to be a team full of snipers. It didn't go well. 14 of 40 from three. And the Timberwolves stay alive. They now trail in this series 3-1. It will flip and head back to Minnesota for game 5. If Derek Lively plays, there's a very good chance that Minnesota drops a home game to wrap up this series. We will find out. That game is on Thursday evening. We will be doing a much more extensive prognostication of that game coming up on tomorrow's show. However, I will tell you, Lonzo has predicted every Dallas Mavericks game correctly so far, and he has already laid out his guess that the Mavs put it away in game 5 on the road.
How's it a guess?
Sorry. He has already told us, informed us.
It's accurate prognostication.
He did. Back in the first hour, he said, if you're a gambling man, put the mortgage to your house on Dallas in game 5.
I didn't say that.
He sure did. Word for word.
Do that, no.
Word for word. That's what he said. Let's go to item number 2. I find this quite interesting, to be honest with you. I find this very interesting, and I'm interested to see not just what the reaction is going to be, but I'm interested to really dive into what this means for Major League Baseball. Yesterday, Major League Baseball announced that they would be adding Negro League historical records to the official MLB record book. That means a couple of things. Here's a few numbers, a few records that have changed and are changing with the addition of the Negro League record books going into effect. You have, as of yesterday evening, a brand new all-time Major League Baseball career batting average leader. His name is Josh Gibson. He had a .372 career batting average in the Negro Leagues. That is now Major League Baseball's all-time best work. After a 3-year research project where historians and baseball administrators dug back through the record books to find the records of over 2,300 black players, they have thrown those into the record book. Here's a few others that have changed. For the 1943 Homestead Grays, Josh Gibson had a season average of .466. In 1929, the New York Lincoln Giants had a player by the name of Charlie Smith. He batted .451. Both of those are now the number 1 and number 2 single season best batting average. They replace Hugh Duffy, who knocked off the 1894 record. Gibson is now also the career leader in slugging percentage of .718, OPS of 1.17. He replaces at the top of the career list for those two numbers, one Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth now number 2 in career slugging percentage and OPS. Baseball Commissioner Rob Manfred said in a statement, quote, "This initiative is focused on ensuring that future generations of fans have access to the statistics and milestones of all those who made the Negro Leagues possible. Their accomplishments on the field will be a gateway to broader learning about this triumph in American history and the path that led to Jackie Robinson's 1947 Dodger debut." MLB put together a special committee on baseball records. The first committee back in 1969 decided to recognize 6 major professional baseball leagues dating back to 1876. The National, which launched in 76, the American, which launched in 01, the American Association, which existed from 1882 to 1891. By the way, these are all 1800s and 1900s numbers. The United Association of 1884, the Players League of 1890, and the Federal League, which lasted just a single season from 1914 to 1915. It excluded the 4 years of the Negro League National Association, citing a, quote, erratic schedule and procedures. But the MLB said that after the 2020 60-game season, that, quote, the condensed 60-game season for the 2020 calendar year for the National League and American League prompted us to think that maybe the shortened Negro League seasons could come under the MLB umbrella after all. It has done so. It has rewritten the record books. And I'm going to be spending a lot of time reading through these today because I am very intrigued. I'm actually really happy this happened for one reason and one reason alone. The Negro Leagues are wildly important. Without the Negro Leagues, there likely would not have been a path to Jackie Robinson, or if there was, it may have taken even longer than it did. And I know that because there's a lot of that history around here. There's a lot of that history around with the Spinners. Not too long ago, a dear friend of mine sent me a text because the Gwinnett Stripers decided to wear a theme night uniform of the old Negro team, the Atlanta Crackers. And he thought it was a joke. He's like, what is his name? And I'm like, that was a Negro League team, right? Crackers was just, it was an accepted term. As a lot of teams named the Crackers back in the day. And so.
As in cracking the bat.
Cracking the bat. I'll give you the uncomfortable history. You know why white people are called crackers? Because when they were slave drivers, they would crack the whip over the slaves. That's where the term cracker comes from. That's why it's a derogatory term, right? And so that kind of transferred over, and that is where a lot of these names came from. Anyway, the point here is that there is a lot of baseball history wrapped up in the Negro Leagues, and baseball may not be what it is today without the Negro League. And the fact that those players were not allowed to play in professional baseball should not negate their names being mentioned among the hallways of greatness that other great major league players of the exact same era now inhabit.
See, I'm also curious. I mean, this is awesome that they're doing this, but the baseball, more so than any other sport, has a ton of who know every single stat from the history of the game. Do those guys retire now, or do they go back and they memorize these new stats?
You know what, to me, the true definition of a nerd is, at least when it comes to the dorks like me who love numbers? There's never enough of them. You always want more. You always want to learn more.
So you're excited.
Very.
It's like, man, I get to go back in and relearn some things.
Very.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, when I first got here, and I learned about the Greenville Spinners, and I started looking back at the Spinners and the history and how they were such a big part of baseball. And of course, the mill leagues, right? Like Shoeless Joe played in the mill leagues. Like, these things are all fascinating to me. And when I started looking back through that history, I really started to realize like how much baseball history is not known by baseball fans. And I think this goes a long, long way in starting to bring to light some players who, like I said, due to the circumstances of the world, probably deserve to get their names mentioned amongst the Mays and the Ruths, etc., and never have. And now they will. And I think that's excellent for baseball. I think that's excellent for those players. I think it's excellent for baseball fans. I think it's excellent for baseball history. And I very much look forward to learning even more. All right. Let's take a break. Cody Decker, we're going to push him back into the 8 o'clock hour. He's got a little something that popped up with his real job. So Deck's going to join us at either 8 or 8:20. I'll let you know coming up. Mario at 9. In the meantime, we got a lot more we got to get to on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
QC.
All right, guys, one quick read, and we're coming back. Stay right there for me.
No, they are EVPs. The loop must have been off.
We don't get pictures on the text line, Steven, you jerk.
What picture did you send?
Good morning, gentlemen. In honor of National Flip-Flop Day, everyone send all your photos of your sockless feet and flip-flops over to the Rob Brown Show at 71307.
You can send them on social media.
Or, hear me out, catch that block button, bro. Don't.
I'll unblock you.
Don't at me, bro. You send it to my social media, you're catching the L.
Send them to the fans. That way the afternoon show can enjoy it too.
You want to do that? I'm fine. If you want to swamp Diesel's social media this afternoon with pictures of bare feet, you have my permission.
Him and Cole. Yeah.
Yes, Joey B. There were a lot of interesting takes last night about that.
Oh, yesterday was the what do you call it? Anniversary of that whole incident when Syndergaard missed hitting Utley.
I did see that.
Yeah. We're in the jackpot now. I'm editing.
Sounds like a baseball thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. Care.
I'm sorry that MLB then, I guess, sought out to delete all of that mic'd up on here, which was funny to me. Not long after it became a thing on the internet.
New life in the next break.
10-4.
It's BetMGM tonight.
2 years ago, he pretty much individually won my fantasy baseball league.
You know, I know that Diesel probably shares the same views that Rob does on feet. Probably not to the degree that Rob does, but Cole spends all his time in the woods. He don't care.
Cole walks around this building in bare feet during the show. He just takes his shoes off.
A lot of people do, including management.
Well, Stoneman's a hobbit, so he doesn't count.
He probably could walk on glass and it wouldn't do anything. Probably warms his feet on warm coals, or hot coals, rather. Yeah.
The Rob Brown Show on your radio. The Fan Upstate, Rob and Lonzo with you. Greg Sankey is the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. You may have heard of the Southeastern Conference.
I've heard it means more there.
You have heard correctly. It just means more in the SEC. Greg Sankey and the rest of the SEC administrators are down in my old hometown of Destin, Florida, where the SEC spring meetings are currently taking place. Well, Greg Sankey got in front of a microphone and answered a lot of questions this past weekend. Well, actually, earlier this week, I guess I should say, but this past weekend. Greg Sankey was asked a bunch of questions. I pulled a bunch of sound from that. I would like to run over some of them with you and just give you my thoughts and get yours. Let us begin on one that I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on this now, that we might later in the show, because Billy Napier has responded to the Jaden Rashada lawsuit. You will remember that the new probably starting quarterback at UGA is suing the University of Florida and specifically named the head coach for UF, Billy Napier, in said lawsuit. Greg Sankey got asked about that, and he said this.
Oh, I'm not a fan of lawsuits. That's what I think.
Does it just kind of speak to just the new reality with NIL and everything that everybody from Billy Napier to all these coaches have to deal with?
Yeah, but there's been lawsuits. Was that the only lawsuit involving a coach over the last year? Won't be the last. You know, that we have a legal system and people have rights to pursue what they view as grievances, and the legal system sorts that out.
So,
do we not know of these lawsuits? Because I don't recall any of them.
I'm going to tell you straight up. I listened to that like 3 times, and I can't tell if he said this is not the first lawsuit or that this is the first lawsuit involving a coach.
It sounded like he said this is not the first.
That's
lawsuit.
what I thought too.
That's what I thought I heard.
That's what I thought as well. It is, as far as I understand, absolutely the first lawsuit where an active player is suing an active coach. However, I will agree with 2 points that he made. I will agree with the first point that he made that, yeah, it's probably not going to be the last, especially depending on how, and Greg Sankey said, and you'll hear him say it a couple of times in some of the sound bites that I pulled here, especially if some of the issues that have been coming up recently, that is to say regarding the settlement and the potential for, because it is not official yet, it's been approved but is not officialized, if the plan that would allow schools to directly compensate players moving forward, if financially compensate, let me be very clear before some of y'all jump the gun, if schools do get to the point where they are allowed to directly compensate athletes and head coaches are more involved in that entire world,
Why
then
don't you
yes.
just say pay them. Does it? I mean, does it
Okay.
hurt to say that?
No, I
Okay.
don't care.
I get compensate's a bigger word. I do understand.
You know me.
Yeah. But,
I like to use the big words. If they are allowed to financially compensate, aka pay their players moving forward, and if coaches are under whatever that new agreement looks like, because again, even Greg Sankey said multiple times, we've got to get the settlement worked out before we start to hammer in on what these things are going to look like. If coaches are going to be actively involved in these things, then this is absolutely something that's more likely to crop up. But I also appreciate, and I think he's only saying it because he has to, but I also think he might be saying it because he believes it. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt until I have a reason not to. Greg Sankey said, look, Jaden Rashada feels that there is a grievance. Jaden Rashada feels like there was damages done against him, in this case financially, perpetrated by Billy Napier in the University of Florida. That's why we have a legal system. We have a legal system for that exact reason. We have a legal system so that if someone feels that they are grieved by someone else, they can put it in front of a judge or in front of other citizens and say, was I or was I not? And if the answer is yes, then it will be made right. And if the answer is no, then it won't. So I appreciate that answer out of him. One of the big discussions that has been going on is about the concept of, you were talking about $20+ million being placed aside every year for schools as compensation for athletes. But if we're keeping it a buck here, as the kids say, if we're being straight up about it, doesn't that kind of make it a little bit tougher on some smaller schools? In fact, I'm going to play you part of the question and the answer when Greg Sankey was asked about maintaining competitive parity when big schools will, at least on the surface, have such a big advantage.
Greg, one of the conversations been like, I guess, over the last 3 to 4 weeks and maybe longer in terms of the revenue sharing and how athletic departments are going to come up with that money. I know it comes from the college football playoff, I know it comes from the conference, but also ticket sales, merchandise, whatnot, to be able to afford to pay these players and be competitive in the SEC. What have those conversations been like in this week? What lies ahead?
Well,
trying to raise that money is what I'm getting at for some smaller institutions.
We don't have smaller institutions. We have
from a budget
flagship state universities.
Correct.
Yeah.
From a budget
well, I think people are going to work to understand the terms of the settlement first. And as I said, that's in process. And I intentionally use broad. We're going to have hard decisions to make. You don't have that kind of economic shift without decisions having to be made. Have we been granular on that? No. Have we talked generally about what might be ahead? We have, and I think there's been more of those conversations taking place rapidly on campus at this point.
Do you see a time where schools over the next, whatever that is, 8 to 9 months, trying to find different ways, whether that be to raise ticket prices or whether that be, and I'm talking about for the future, but coming up with different scenarios for them to be able to afford whatever that salary cap, if we're going to call that, is going to be?
I would not want to predict the what. You don't. I think the range of issues will be in front of people.
So, effectively, what the questioner, the question levier right there said was, in a world where coming up with the money to pay these athletes is going to be a huge chunk of change, how do the smaller universities, budget-wise, how do the smaller universities come up with a way to do that and to be able to keep up, to stay competitive in a conference like the SEC. Now, a couple of things to play here. Number one is Greg's answer there, which was, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. Oh, sorry. Wait a minute. I got a clip for that. Hey, Greg, how do they pay?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't quite know how to answer that, to be honest.
I got to remember I got these great clips in the back pocket, you know? The second thing is
you can give them to me. I mean, you know, but they're yours, so I can't take them.
I don't know.
He said, I don't know. Second thing is he says, all this stuff is ahead of us. All of this stuff is in front of us. Y'all, this is why I've said, now, all you people who've been screaming Wild Wild West, uncharted waters is the phrase you should be using. I got some more of that sound for you when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
New life.
All right, one more, guys. Come right back. Stay right there for me, please, and thank you. conversation over the past handful of days, and that topic is about the concept of roster caps as opposed to scholarship limits. Right now, college sports are hampered only by a scholarship limit. For instance, football has 85 scholarships that they can award under NCAA rules. You are not obligated to give out 85, though very few schools don't do that. However, that does not mean that you are limited to 85 players. You can have way north of that. Last year, if I recall correctly, the University of Michigan, who Lonzo will recall with great anger, are now your reigning, defending, undisputed college football national champions until someone takes that trophy away from them at the end of the next football season. Michigan had something to the tune of 145 players on their roster, which means that something to the tune of, and I'm very bad at math, Lonzo, so you may have to correct me on this. But if they had 100, and let's say 40 for the sake of easy math in here. If they had 140 players and only 85 scholarships, that means that the University of Michigan had roughly
55.
I was going to say 90.
Were you really going to?
God, no, I'm dumb. I'm not that dumb. Had roughly something to the tune of 55-ish athletes on their football team who were not scholarship football players. Now,
are you surprised that they had that many uniforms?
No.
I guess they could have them made, but still.
No, I'm not. And I'll tell you why. Because I can hearken back to a day many moons ago when Rob Brown was but a high school heartthrob. And a dear friend of mine, actually my best friend growing up, Drew, his old man.
Yeah, I've seen pictures. Definitely heartthrob. That's
heartthrob.
Yeah, that's it.
You should have seen the butt cut haircut that I was rocking. The ladies could not contain themselves around me. I was everybody's best friend. All right, I was the definition of friend zoned. I lived in the friend zone in high school.
Yeah, because he was the rich kid, so everybody wanted to go to his house. Anyway,
whatever.
I mean,
whatever.
it's not your fault.
Whatever.
I mean, it's
whatever.
Good for you. I would
Stop being a bully.
Nah, you wouldn't have hung around.
This is supposed to be a safe space. Stop being a bully.
I was one of the poors. You would have been. Your nose would have been up in the air.
That is not true. That is not true. All right, listen. Whatever. Point here is, you are looking at a situation where this is not new and it is not uncommon. The fact is, when I was in school many moons ago, there were extra kids on the football team to the point that we've seen flags thrown in at least one game. In fact, I know what happens. Man, they're catching some strays today. I know for a fact that at least one time the Florida Gators were penalized because they had two players wearing the same number on the football field at the same time. It is not that they don't have enough unis. It's that they don't have enough numbers, so they've got to figure out which two guys can we assign to wear the exact same number that will never be on the field together at the same time. And I can tell you as a play-by-play guy, that's a nightmare.
I know this is I'm not trying to go down a trail, but since you're allowed to wear any number now, that's taken care of, right?
No. There are only 99 double-digit numbers. You have 155 kids on the team.
If you count zero, there's 100.
Okay,
So-
there's 100 numbers. You have, let's say, Michigan, 145 guys on the team. Even if you take out the guys that aren't dressing for game day, you are always going to have a couple of kids wearing the same number.
Maybe they should add letters.
Go to 3 digits. Play offensive guard. I'll wear number 743.
Oh, I'd be down for that. I'd be 747. Yeah.
The concept of a roster cap replacing a salary limit has been thrown around. Pete Thamel was on the Pat McAfee show last week, and he explained it thusly.
The other very football-centric piece of this that isn't determined is there are going to be roster caps. Now, I'm going to go in the weeds a little bit with you here. There used to be scholarship limits.
Yep.
So, like, they're weird numbers. The football at 85, that was clean. But, like, baseball was like 12. The sort of basic legal tenet of this is that because it's an antitrust suit, they're trying to eliminate limitations. So instead of telling Clemson they can only have 85 scholarship players in this, or like Ole Miss is a great example, or Mississippi State, they have unbelievable baseball, and they were limited to about 10 baseball scholarships. So now, if you want to give out 25 baseball scholarships, you can. There's simply just going to be a roster cap, and you can determine. Maryland may say, you know what, we only want 12 baseball scholarships. But Ole Miss is going to say, hey, mate, we pack $5,000 a night, and everybody sits out in the outfield and drinks, and we get a good old time here. And baseball means a lot to our community and our fan base. We're going to have up to the roster cap as opposed to the scholarship limit.
So,
okay, so this isn't going to be picked per team. This is going to be a uniform.
This would be a uniform thing. So you would say hypothetically, and by the way, the baseball number is 11.7 scholarships. Now, what most baseball teams do at the college level is they award a chunk of players a certain percentage of a scholarship. So you might have two guys that get 50% scholarship, right? And then they got this other kid coming over, and this other kid comes from a well-to-do family, so maybe he only gets a quarter of a scholarship, and there's four kids that share a quarter of a scholarship. That's the way baseball has always operated. So under this new way of thinking, because as Pete Thamel aptly pointed out there, as an antitrust suit, what they are trying to get rid of is ways that schools can utilize their own finances and ways that players are restricted from being compensated, not just by NIL, but however. And so the thought here would be, here's what we're going to do. Your football team can have 80 guys. Your baseball team roster limit can be 30 guys. Your basketball team can have 17. Your track and field team can have 42, whatever the case might be. And then it's up to the schools. You can award as many scholarships as you want. As long as all your teams are under these roster caps, you can award as many of them or as few of them a scholarship as you would like. So if you end up with, let's say, a cap size, and it doesn't mean just because that's the scholarship limit, it does not mean that the roster cap on football, if this goes through, would be capped at 85. They might bump it up to 85. I know a lot of coaches want to have more guys on the team, not less. Let's say they cap it to 85, right? So
I am going to be curious about this with this cap. Will it affect?
I didn't hide that very well, did I?
You did not.
I did not hide that well at all.
Will it affect NIL any at all? And transfer?
No.
And in transfer portal. What I mean is will less people transfer because there's more room on the team and they're getting paid whatever amount of money?
So if they, let's say, go with 85, the first thing that you will notice for a lot of schools, if you look around, is that most teams try to carry two deep at every position, except for the position where there's multiple guys. So like wide receivers, you might carry 3 or 4. Defensive backs, you might carry 3 or 4. But like at each position, left guard, right guard, center, right tackle, you're going to carry probably 2 guys that are on scholarship. And then you carry some guys that are walk-ons, right? Long snapper. A lot of times that's a walk-on. Punter, kicker. A lot of times that's a walk-on. These are kids who just want to play, and they're willing to pay their way through school and play football at the same time. If this goes away, then the football team would be allowed to, let's say they set the number at 95. They would be able to offer a scholarship to all 95 guys right now, but they could only have 95 guys. And the philosophy, the theory behind this is, all right, Georgia's capped at 85 guys. So they're going to pick 85 of the best football players coming out of high school, offer them all scholarships, and they will fill that roster out. then there's going to be a lot of guys that if Georgia was carrying 130 guys on their roster, they would not go to Georgia, right? Because while they might want to be a dog, they want to go somewhere that they're going to play, and specifically if somewhere else can offer them a scholarship. So for the 30 guys, 35, 40 guys that would have stayed on as walk-ons or non-scholarship athletes, if Georgia can only carry 85 guys, those 45 guys would then have to would have to play somewhere else, right? And the thought is it would trickle talent down to keep parity across the league. Now, all of a sudden, instead of Georgia hoarding 140 players on the roster, many as non-scholarship walk-on players, now some of those guys might go, yeah, I mean, I'm Georgia quality, but like 91st on the roster, Georgia quality. 91st on the Georgia roster quality is a starter at Vanderbilt, is a legend at Vanderbilt, right? It's a legend. And so the thought is some of those guys would peel off. They would not go somewhere where the roster cap was threatened, and they would end up at a Vanderbilt or a Kentucky or a Louisville down the line. On the flip side, is that fair to the players? Is it fair to players to say, no, you can't play here? They got too many guys. And even though you would be willing to walk on because you really want to be a dog or a tiger or a gamecock or whatever, you can't because they got too many guys. You got to go somewhere else. Is it fair for that? One of the arguments from the smaller schools has been that NIL is effectively allowing the bigger schools to not have a scholarship penalty right now, to not have a scholarship limit. There's an example. There's a cat by the name that played for Michigan last year, cat by the name of Cam Good. Cam Good transferred to Michigan from UCF, went up there, became a starter. He was a grad student. He got there, he played for a year on scholarship, and then after his year on scholarship, Cam Good was asked to give up his scholarship. Why? Because Michigan needed another scholarship to bring in a highly touted recruit. Now, in years gone by, great one, you'd think that a player would look at the school and go, hey, you. Absolutely not, right? I'm on scholarship. But here's what's happened. The Michigan NIL collective came together and put together an NIL deal that was offered up to Cam Good that was worth more money than his scholarship was worth. And so they paid Cam Good's scholarship effectively and threw a little extra on top for being willing to give it up so that Michigan could get a recruit in, a freshman that wasn't going to get NIL deals, put him on scholarship, let him be a part of the team and grow and develop, whereas Cam Good didn't lose any money because the collective took care of him. And he's an offensive lineman, a position that is, frankly, not getting a ton of money right now. But the NIL collective for Michigan showed up, gave him that scholarship money plus a little bit extra. And effectively, Michigan said, no, we still got 85 scholarships out. Smaller schools are looking at it and going, well, hang on a second.
Yeah, I know we don't have time. You're going to tell me that coaches weren't involved in that the collective just decided. I mean, come on.
The coaches, I'm sure, absolutely made the decision to say, we want to pull his scholarship and give it to a young kid. And I'm sure that word got out on the street that Cam Good was going to need $100,000 in order to make up the scholarship that Jim Harbaugh or whoever really wanted him to give back to the school. But, if we ask him to give back $107,352.67 exactly and precisely, and he doesn't want to do it, he might leave. Well, if I'm a collective guy and I hear it not from the coach, but just through the grapevine that he needs $107,356.27, I might be able to work a little something out there to cover that exact number. What a coincidence. So what side do you fall on? Roster cap so that doesn't happen, or kids should have the freedom to be a walk-on and a non-scholarship player if they want, and schools should not have a cap. We're going to argue that more later on in the show. When we come back, Cody Decker joins us to talk a little Major League Baseball. Before we do any of that, Lonzo, a guy who should be paid infinite amounts of money for sports flashes, does a sports flash.
Yeah, I'm down with that. The Atlanta Braves put another in the win column with a 2-0 win over Washington. Max Fried had another stellar outing, going 8 innings and recording 6 strikeouts with 7 hits and no runs allowed. Marcell Ozuna notched his 16th homer of the year, and Jared Kelenic 10th RBI finished the Nationals. Atlanta is now 31-21 on the season. So they're still winning despite what Rob thinks. In the NHL, another overtime game between New York and Florida saw the Panthers bring the Eastern Conference to a 2-2 tie with a 3-2 win over the Rangers. Sam Reinhart finished a power play less than a minute and a half into the overtime period for the win. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole Bryson and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and a whole lot of fun. It's all Wire to Wire. What?
Found a little interesting factoid.
Okay, right now, you get over here and do the thing. First of all, you need to stop this.
Hang on. Where's my cursor? Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had me. I was trying
Stop.
To
Yeah.
right there.
All right. Minimize the call screener thing, and then grab. No. Take that back down. Take that back down. All right. Go over to Cool Edit icon.
Okay.
Double click. And start your next hour recording.
The one just called Cameron Brink, Cameron Diaz with a jump shot. That's all I'm going to be able to see now.
It's coming.
Okay.
Yeah. It's,
I didn't know if
all right. Go ahead and hit record on that. All right. Now let's look over here and see how we're timing out.
How we out?
There's no maybe. You need to count. So that's 58, 56, 5909, 5923, 5938. So we're going to go over. So I want you to get rid of the BetGM promo. So, yep, hit that and hit that. Yeah. All right, now go back and hit that again.
Yeah, but
okay,
let's
good.
not hit too many things.
All right.
Okay, so hit record. Or is this thing already going?
It's already going.
Okay.
All right, you can worry about editing that in a second. Let's get ready on your board. Okay. Also, Cody will be coming in right here when he gets there. No, don't bring it up yet so we know he's there. You'll see because he'll show up on the screen. You don't need 3 right now because you have nothing in it. 2 has already got a bet in it. I'm going to go ahead and bring down the computer because you're not going to use any of the sound cuts right now. So, right. So when Rob comes on,
then we'll
bring it down just a little bit, and then no, he will be on 1. So it's okay. Stop. You see the Rob Brown Open is in 1.
Say 30, 46.
In this case, we're already over. Don't worry about the time. See, now there's Cody right there. You do need those things, yes. So once Rob introduces him, then bring up the volume.
And off we go into hour number 3 of the Rob Brown Radio program right here on the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, children of all ages. Spectacular, as always, to have you. As we roll on through a Wednesday morning edition of the radio broadcast, we've got a lot to get into. Minnesota staves off elimination. We will take it to a game 5. Of course, that just means one more day of rest that the Boston Celtics get over Luka Doncic and the Mavs. We're going to break that down. Coming up later on in the show, the Atlanta Bravos get another stellar showing out of Max Fried last night. We'll address that. Hey, speaking of baseball, what a wonderful time to bring in our next guest. Ladies and gentlemen, if I'm not the handsomest talk radio show host in America, this guy might be. He is my co-host on Bet for the Cycle, which airs every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL network. He is also a host on Beetle and Decker on Mad Dog Radio and Sirius XM, which airs every weekday from noon to 3, because Cody Decker and I, we don't like days off. We do like days off. We just don't have them. What's up, Deck?
Oh, just adding on to my no mornings off along with you, Rob Brown. How you doing, man? This is my first time, I believe, on this program, bro.
I think we had you on one time last year.
I think this is the first time. Yeah.
No, it is in the mornings. It is in the mornings.
Because I would remember him because he's obviously the better looking of the two.
Between him and Beetle,
No,
I agree.
Between you and he, not as good looking as Mario though.
See what you just there. It is. Yeah, you did. You done did it.
Is this a joke? Mario. You're talking about Mario. You're talking about that little tiny weird. He looks like if you remember when E.T. was drowning in the water? That's Mario with a wig on.
Well, here's the thing. Hair guys stick together. So, I had to do it.
I don't like that. I don't like that, Rob Brown.
I don't like that either. I don't. Cody Decker, former MLB player, my host on Saturdays. Again, also host Beetle and Decker on Mad Dog Radio on Sirius XM every weekday from noon to 3. Deck, obviously the thing that triggered me to bring you on, and we'll talk some baseball here in just a minute, but our long national nightmare is over. You're next, C-Bay Buckner, but Angel is gone, and it is, I think it's the most I've ever celebrated one person losing a job, and I'm not going to stop.
Listen, I don't sit around here and celebrate people losing their jobs. Unless they're Angel Hernandez, I do. Oh, my God, thank God. What, have we been sitting on the technology for the last 35 years of just getting rid of Angel Hernandez? The fact that he's been around to basically destroy baseball for as long as he has, not to mention CB Buckner. Yeah, your days are number 2, my pal. Here's the thing. The only thing, Rob Brown, and I wanted your opinion on this because I really, really dug the timing of the announcement, because you and I did our show on Saturday morning, and we screamed, boo! with the announcement of that Rob Manfred made, that they said the robot umps, the quote unquote robot umps, will not be starting in Major League Baseball in 2025, of which I said, why? I simply don't understand why we're not implementing technology that we've already had for the past 20 years. You're at minor league stadiums. I played in big league games. I played in minor league games. I can't stress enough. Everybody has a radar system that is down to the minute detail. Listen, I'm not even saying bring on full-on robot umps. I'm saying at least give an earpiece to the umpire at home plate, because the game moves too fast these days. Like, I say this to you every Saturday whenever we bring up the speed of baseball these days, dude. The movie The Rookie is a terrible, unwatchable Dennis Quaid movie. Do not watch it. However, there is one line in the movie that I absolutely love. It's where he's talking to his wife. He's like, baby, they clocked me at 97 miles per hour. And she's like, well, is that a lot, honey? He's like, you know how many people in Major League Baseball can throw a ball 97 miles per hour? You can count them on one hand. That was 20 years ago, Rob Brown. You can count on one hand how many guys cannot throw 97 plus. The game simply moves too fast for a 2D non-existent strike zone for somebody to use their just plain eyes to use anymore. Everybody throws cutters. Everybody throws sweepers. Everybody throws sliders at 97. Look at Paul Skeens throwing 98-mile-per-hour sinkers that fall off the table. How is the naked eye supposed to see that in an invisible box? I actually understand the umpire's plight in this. However, some are worse than others. Angel Hernandez, thank God you're gone. And trust me, after the announcement that Rob Manfred made saying we're not going to have the robot umps, and then just a day later, but don't worry, we're firing Angel Hernandez. Oh, Rob Manfred, my king, may you bestow back on your beautiful golden throne of royalty, my man.
Cody Decker joining us here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. It was you and I have been Team Robo for a very long time, and my favorite part is we're not even asking to get rid of the umpires, right? Like the umpires can stay on the field. They can still do their funny little dances that they love to do to call balls and strikes. They can still stand by the bags and ring guys up or whatever. Like all that can stay. But, dude, I have stood in the box against the 100-mile-an-hour fastball. They're incomprehensibly difficult to put a baseball bat on. That is why it is said, no matter who you talk to in this industry, the hardest thing to do in sports is hit a fastball. It's the hardest thing to do. You have like 6 milliseconds to not just decide to swing, but to decide where to swing, when to swing, how to swing, etc. But you're telling me an ump, especially now that, as you mentioned, it's not just 98-mile-an-hour fastballs. 98-mile-an-hour cutters are like a thing, like just a thing that every team has a cutter guy on it now. And you're telling me there's a tech, and I know there is because you've seen it. I've seen it. I've sat at the control board of one and watched it operate. This should not be news. And it was the most frustrating thing to both of us on Saturday when Rob Manfred came out and said, yeah, no, we've got it. It works. We tested it. We tested it in minor leagues. We tested it in the major leagues. It's in MLB stadiums. It's already there. We just don't want to use it.
Yeah.
We just don't want to use it.
Yeah.
Why?
Do you think it's like Rob Manfred's like nuclear option? He just has it in his back pocket in case he needs to use it. It's just to scare the umpires into submission every once in a while. It's like, hey, CB Buckner, get it together because I have this nuclear bomb in my back pocket known as robo-umps, bro.
It's got to be. It's literally all I can come up with.
It has to be. It's like, and then here's why I think that might be the case, is simply this. Look how long Major League Baseball and Rob Manfred, while Rob Manfred was busy being the bad guy of Major League Baseball, how long did he dangle the National League DH over our heads? 10 years?
Yeah.
And has the world ended since the implementation of the National League DH?
No, I'm looking out the window. Looks clean. Looks good.
I'm looking out my window
no
right
mushroom
now.
clouds. No mushroom clouds here in South Carolina yet.
I'm in the middle of New York City. I'm looking out. It looks like a beautiful 75-degree day. Not a single issue has happened since the National League DH has been put into Major League Baseball. Amazing how long they kept that from us.
Cody Decker, my co-host on Bet for the Cycle every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL Network. Also host Beetle and Decker on Mad Dog Radio and Sirius XM every weekday from noon to 3 alongside Michelle Beetle. Deck, I don't know how much you've gotten a chance to catch up because this got announced last night as well, but Major League Baseball deciding that they are going to add the Negro League records into Major League Baseball's record books, and that does a few things. Number one, Babe Ruth is no longer the career slugging percentage leader. Ty Cobb is no longer the career batting average leader, as some of the Negro League players from the late 1800s now hold those records officially within the record books of Major League Baseball. I think it's spectacular. I think it's great for those players who the plight of which I don't think is necessarily recognized by baseball fans. B, I think it does a great job of opening up the history of the game, especially a dark part of the history that a lot of people don't like to talk about. I think this is phenomenal decision-making from baseball.
Yes, it is. It was a long time coming. I can't believe we hadn't already done it. Here's the only thing that sucks about it. And truly, this only thing that breaks my heart is that we don't have all the numbers, that we don't have all of the history. For instance, Josh Gibson should be our career home run leader. We don't know how many home runs Josh Gibson had, and that is criminal. And here's the other thing that people seem to always want to forget or ignore about the era. It was the better of the two leagues, everyone. So when everyone talks about Babe Ruth, especially when we had that Shohei Ohtani comparison, which, by the way, I'm not sure if your listeners know this about me. That's a stupid comparison. You call into radio shows and be like, man, no one's done it since Babe Ruth. Dude, just honest to God, go back to bed and start your whole day over, because there's nothing that can help you. Because when I say that they don't do the same thing, it's an understatement. Babe Ruth was the best player in Major League Baseball in a league that didn't play at night, that also played far less games, and he never played a person of color, which, by the way, the Negro Leagues was the better of the two leagues that was currently running in Major League Baseball. You want an example of that? Satchel Paige came to the major leagues at, 47 years old and dominated Major League Baseball. Jackie Robinson was an MVP in Major League Baseball. He was a run-of-the-mill player in the Negro Leagues. Like, that's how much better that competition was. So Josh Gibson, I hope to God we have like Josh Gibson Day in Major League Baseball. I want to celebrate Josh Gibson, and I hope to God we find even more records, because you're right. Baseball has a past that has been horrifically ignored.
I have been, in fact, I told this story in the show earlier. I have been guilty of that. The Greenville Drive, a couple of times a year, they put on the old Greenville Spinners logo, their Negro League team from way back in the day. The Gwinnett Stripers frequently go back to the Atlanta Crackers unis that they have worn. And it seems like every time one of those teams do that, whether it's Major League Baseball or a minor league team, it opens up that chapter of history to people who go to these games who maybe have never heard of that. I mean, I was fresh to Greenville when I saw the Spinner logo, but I read into that, and then I started learning about the Mill Leagues, which was like a semi-pro setup in South Carolina. That's where Shoeless Joe Jackson came from. That's where he cut his teeth before he ended up in the show. So, like, to me, to open up these avenues to baseball's biggest stage to a group of players that for so many years had been, let's call it what it is, ignored for reasons, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, I think it's fantastic for the sport. I think it's fantastic for the fans of the sport.
I agree. And by the way, and this is a game where there are more baseball historians than there is any other sport. That's just a fact. Like, people, Major League Baseball has such a love affair with its record books. Major League Baseball has such a love affair with, it's honestly a problem with Major League Baseball, because it keeps baseball in the dark ages, because baseball doesn't want to change too many things because, well, the record books are going to change. Yes, they are, but the game needs to change as well, and that's just the factor of life. But the fact that we are talking about the game where everybody talks about the history of the game, the history of the game, the history of the game, and we ignore that many stats that are very much a part of Major League Baseball history is criminal to me. That's why I'm very thrilled that we're, one, adding more lore in history into Major League Baseball, one that's already existed and just has been ignored, and two, dude, like, it's an opportunity for us to really kind of look back and be like, guys, baseball needs to keep growing and changing and evolving with the times. Like, Major League Baseball might be the most profitable it's ever been, but it ain't the most popular it's ever been.
All right, let's flip and talk some actual baseball here. And, you know, I'm a fan of the Atlanta Braves. It's no secret. So I would like you, Deck, to give some thoughts. The Braves yesterday get a win back over the Nats. They are now 31-21, 10 games over 500, and it's a real interesting spot because on one hand, they are performing nowhere near the level we thought that they were going to. I bet the bank on the over 101, and that is very much under threat right now. On the flip side, they're 10 games over 500, and while they trail the Phillies may have had the easiest opening 60 games in the history of modern baseball. Where do you fall on what's happening with Atlanta right now? Are they a good team playing bad, or are they a bad team playing good?
They are a good team playing bad. And by the way, if a good team playing bad is 10 games over 500, Rob Brown, go ahead and count your lucky stars. You know what you could be? You could be a Miami Marlin fan. You could be a Chicago White Sox fan. These are teams that actually technically exist. You could be a Colorado Pebble fan, dude. Think about that. You could be living in Denver right now, rooting for a team wearing silver and purple and maybe getting 40 wins. So it can always be worse. But is this team the good team that we were expecting? You know, losing Acuna Jr., man, what can I say? That's as bad of a death blow as you can possibly get. This team is going to be a playoff team, but now a World Series contender. I might pump the brakes on that right now. I've been, just like you, dead set on this team winning the National League East. I no longer think that. I now think the Phillies are the second best team in Major League Baseball behind the Dodgers.
How much of the Phillies is, and this has been where a lot of baseball dudes have butted heads, and you and I may do it here. How much of this has been the Phillies are good? How much of this has been the Phillies played up through last weekend 3 games against the team that was over 500 at the time? Because, I mean, it honestly, it's probably a little bit of both. But which is the biggest factor if I asked you?
The bigger factor is that the Phillies actually are good, but a strong 30% factor is simply that they haven't played anybody. They haven't been challenged. Not unlike the Boston Celtics, man. It's just a factor of life. You can't blame them for the schedule that they have walked into. They didn't pick this schedule. It just happened to be the case, and they've done what they're supposed to do. Beat the ever-loving hell out of everybody that's put in front of them. But now they're going to start to get challenged. They're going to start taking on the Diamondbacks of the world, the Dodgers of the world, the Giants of the world, the Cubs Cubs of the world, even though they're having a real rough go these last 20 games. This team will be challenged. This team is going to win the National League East until they eventually, in my opinion, fall to the Dodgers in the NL championship.
For the record, the last 2 years in a row, that's exactly what we've said about the Braves and the Phillies, just the teams flip spots, right? Like this is, they're going to win the NL East. They're going to get to the Dodgers in 2 years in a row. Philadelphia has come down to Atlanta and smoked them because, as you've said, if I've said, if everybody who watches sports ever said, it's not about who's the best team. It's about who gets hot. So if Atlanta's going to fix the issue, obviously we know they got to lean on Max Fried. You got to hope that that you're getting some better back end. Charlie Morton went out and just had one of the most embarrassing outings of his career against Washington in game 1. If the Braves are going to play the role of the Phillies to the Phillies playing the role of the Braves this year, it happens because X.
It happens because the Braves pitching gets healthy and is unstoppable. Like Max Fried needs to go out there and do Max Fried things where he throws 84 pitches in 9-inning shutouts. They need Sale to be out there. Unfortunately, this team is a little banged up. It's not the healthy young team that we watched these last couple of years. Offensively, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody, and that is even without Ronald Acuna Jr. But Matt Olson hasn't been picking up the slack the way he normally does. Austin Riley, who you and I both think is going to be an MVP within the next 5 years of Major League Baseball, he hasn't picked it up quite just yet. This team is underperformed and they're 10 games over 500. Quite frankly, Rob Brown, it's a good place to be if you're a Braves fan.
Cody Decker, he is my co-host on Saturdays for Bet for the Cycle on the BetQL Network. Airs from noon to 4. He is also a host with Michelle Beadle on Beadle and Decker on Mad Dog Radio and Sirius XM Radio. How does Michelle Beadle feel about being your second most attractive co-host?
I mean, it must be devastating to her. Like every day she wakes up going like, oh my God, Rob Brown's out there. It's just a devastating feeling all the time because Rob, here's the thing. People don't realize this about Rob Brown. Is Rob a bigger lad? Yes, but he carries the weight fantastically. Does he have a wonderful face that he covers up with a beard? Yes, but it's a good beard. And does he have the best head of hair in radio? Well, top 5.
Lonzo's going to punch me for you saying that. I want you to know that. Cody Decker joins us here on the right. We should do this more often. We should do this where we know that the guy that listens on Saturday and judges us isn't listening. You know what I mean?
I mean, we haven't really cared when he listens to that show either. What are you talking? The fact that they haven't fired us from that show, considering the fact that A, we've never taken it seriously. B, we've never one time looked at a rundown. C, we belittle our producer at every possible angle. D, I mean, it's pure chaos and a bleep show. I mean, quite frankly, it's a miracle that it's on the air. So you all should definitely listen.
You should. Noon to 4 every Saturday. BetQL Network and find Odyssey stations everywhere. We will be back this Saturday. Yeah, as far as I know, I've been told that. I've been told that. Loser of this week's Parlay v Parlay Challenge, the old 999 challenge, still on the table, Deck, and we got to finish this thing. We got to finish this thing.
It's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. Can for once just one of our RBI props hit the day we put down an RBI prop? It's every single time. Juan Soto, and then the next day he goes 4 for 4 with 2 bombs. Killing me.
I did hit a Juan Soto home run prop last night.
I don't want to.
That felt pretty good.
Stop.
Felt pretty good.
Wait, how about this? Win a bet on Saturday when I need you.
I should probably try that. Deck, good to have you on, big dog. Let's do it again real soon.
Yeah, it was okay. Maybe we'll do it.
I accept. It's good enough for me. Cody Decker hosts Bet for the Cycle with me every Saturday from noon to 4 on the BetQL Network. Also hosts Beadle and Decker with Michelle Beadle on Mad Dog Radio and Sirius XM every weekday from noon to 3. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Appreciate you, big dog. Thank you very much.
Anytime. Heart you. Have a great rest of your show, bro.
Later, dude. Thanks.
New life. All right, hit 1. Yes.
All right, guys, as you heard, live read. Be right back.
Hit 1 again.
Just drag and drop.
No, click on it and then click again inside the player. Okay. All right. And so the liner will play when the liner page this. Move your cursor over the top this a little bit. Now page down. Okay. So where it says Rob Brown rejoin, when that starts playing, then you start bringing the music.
That's when I'll tap.
Yes, and some of the rejoins unfortunately have music behind them. It's an ongoing fight. So if you hear that, then don't fire it yet till near the end of the line because you don't want the music clashing.
Okay. And what do we do about the upload?
Don't worry about that right now.
Okay.
I'm more worried about the board.
Do I need to refresh?
Yeah, don't worry about that either right now. Just worry about running the board for now.
We are all sitting under Lonzo's learning tree today.
Also, Decker was not ready for me to defend Mario. I mean, he was not ready for that at all. I already knew you guys were mean and cruel to that guy.
He asked for it.
So when the rejoin hits, kind of fade it down and then hit music. Or
What are you fading?
Well, not fade. It'll stop. Sorry.
Just listen.
Don't overthink it.
Yeah, prize picks in the next break.
Prize picks in the next break.
When the liner starts playing, then bring in channel 2 with the music. Wait and see if there's any music with it. There isn't. Go ahead and hit it.
Appreciate the time from Cody Decker jumping on the show. We need to get that cat on more, man. Love Cody. Good dude. Good dude. Good host, man. Great to have Cody Decker on. Let's get to the phone lines. Big dog Kev hanging on to talk a little association basketball with us. Kev, welcome to the show, fella. How we doing?
Oh, doing all right, man, this morning. What you got going on other than having fun this morning?
Not a damn thing, but that's just all we do around here. You know, I don't take anything seriously.
Sitting around getting your Jerry curl talked about this morning.
I mean, listen, you want to take me? You want to take me to the barbershop, Kev? I'll go with you, fella.
Hey, man, listen, I had to cut the barbershop out. I just started doing it myself because I was going to the barbershop, then I would have to come home and do something else again myself. So that little $25, $30 that I'm giving, then go spend another $10 to myself that I'm doing. That's just not working. So I decided
you gotta find a better barbershop.
Kevin, he doesn't go to a barber, he goes to a stylist. I mean, come on, look at that.
I believe it, bro. I believe all that right now. I'm thinking about getting the new nickname of Pretty Boy Floyd. That's just what I'm working on right now.
I mean, if that's supposed to be offensive, it ain't, Kev. All right, bro, let's talk some basketball. What you got?
Hey, man. So Cat decided to play basketball last night, huh? I think he actually thought, I do play NBA basketball. I make a lot of money. So let me just decide to play tonight. Now, seeing that should be that he don't have nobody that can guard him. So why not do this for 2 more games? Let me see what you got. Like right now, take it to the backyard. Everything else is cut out. We are throwing elbows and everything these next 2 games and see what you got.
So here's the 2 thoughts I had. We talked about this a little bit earlier in the show. First off, I want to go back like 2 years. I do remember there was I want to say it was a Sports Illustrated cover that had Cat on it. It was like, is this the face of the league? And I was like, I hope so. Like maybe, but he ain't been in this series, right? It's been with the exception of last night, Cat has been the biggest disappointment in the playoffs so far. Hands down, no questions asked. I won't hear another word about it. But there was something else that changed besides Cat, and it's something I've been hitting on this whole series, Kev, and I'm gonna stick with it. The Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively 1-2 punch. Like, I know Luka's the star of the show. I know Kyrie's been having some big nights, and I'm glad to see Kyrie kind of getting back into the fold because he is one of the greatest players of my generation, though he's never mentioned in that list. But having 2 7-footers that can keep fresh legs underneath the basket I'm not going to say it eliminates Cat, but it lets you put a power forward on Cat, and that power forward can really play a little more aggressively because even if Cat beats him defensively, all 48 minutes, there's a 7-footer under the rim. Either Gafford's down there or Lively's down there. Well, they did not have Derek Lively last night because Rudy Gobert went full UFC, driving his knee through the back of his skull. And without the second 7-footer back there, you had about 31 minutes with Gafford in there with a 7-footer under the rim. And then you had another 17 minutes where the Mavs were playing small ball. They didn't have, so all of a sudden, now the basket is an option for Cat. Now all of a sudden, Karl-Anthony Towns' full game comes into play. If Cat doesn't learn to play to and through a 7-footer, then you've got the blueprint to beat the Timberwolves, and that's what Dallas has done this whole series. That's why I said earlier in the show, if Lively comes back for Game 5, Minnesota's losing at home. If he's got to sit for one more, then this is going all the way to 7.
If that happens and Cat still don't show, take his jersey, send him home. Pay him for what they worth. Stop giving out contracts. Pay them for what they worth, man. Because if you're gonna go out here and give me this little bit, and you want to bully people when you don't have that same size person in there, we're gonna have a problem, bro. We're gonna have a hard problem.
Yeah, listen, I need what I need from Karl-Anthony Towns. I need you to play to and through a 7-footer because especially when Lively comes back, there is 40. Most teams don't have it. Most teams don't have that. Like I've said a number of times, the best move in the draft last year was Dallas taking Derek Lively and not asking Daniel Gafford to be a guy. I think a lot of teams make the mistake of thinking, all right, we got a 7-footer, we got a dude. Not necessarily, not all 7-footers are built the same, right? So by getting him, you can now say, all right, what we need from you, Daniel Gafford, I need 4 minutes of just all-out 100% full-throttle basketball. And after 4 minutes, we're going to put Lively, ask the same thing. And now all of a sudden, Gafford isn't just an efficient offensive center who's a pretty good rim defender, but is going to get dog tired after 17, 20 straight minutes of basketball. Now he's fresh legs all game long. So Cat's got to figure out how to play to and through. But on the flip side, my man's got to get more aggressive with the basketball. Like when he gets squared up with a 4 from Dallas, he's got to start hitting some fadeaway threes, got to be more aggressive shooting. He can shoot the 3, but it's like they're not setting him up. And so power forwards are lagging off defensively a little bit because they're not afraid of him. And now not only can he not attack the rim, but even if he does, he's got 2 dribbles before he's to his first defender, and there's still another guy behind him. I would go as far as to say I agree with everything you're saying about Cat. I agree with the criticism. You are spot on. But I would also put a little bit of it on Minnesota because it feels like they're looking and going, if Cat can't do it off the bounce, we just got to give it to Anthony Edwards and let him do Anthony Edwards stuff. And that's fine, but it's not enough to beat a team with Luka, Kyrie, and both guys under the basket.
I feel you on that. I'll tell you what, if they don't, they're going to either Ant going to want to leave or they're going to have to dump that roster and bring him some help. Because that one person trying to do it all the time, you're going to wear him out by the time he's 30, and he might make it to 31, 32 if he got to go do this every night, all night long.
You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong. Kev, appreciate it, big dog.
Get a squad together that's ready to throw bowls and go get 30 if somebody needs to get 30 other than our real 30-point score.
I agree. Kev, appreciate you, man. Thank you very much for jumping on board. Good to talk. And that's kind of it for me, man. Like as far as what Minnesota's doing, this is what I said after the Denver series. The Minnesota Timberwolves are built to beat Denver. They are. They are built to beat Denver, and it worked. Cat is a huge asset against a team that is built around Nikola Jokic like the Mavs are. You've got enough defenders that you can slow up Jamal Murray. That's all well and good. Dallas is built to beat Minnesota. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, if Dallas makes it through, I'm taking Boston in 5. But Dallas might win 1. But they are built to beat Minnesota because what they have built with 2 7-footers underneath and a good set of rotational defensive power forwards eliminates Karl-Anthony Towns from the game. And if Cat's eliminated from the game, as good as Anthony Edwards is, unless he can start getting me 50, you're in trouble. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Prize Picks.
All right, guys, one more. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about America's most...
Coach World.
The Rob Brown Show continues. It is the Fan Upstate. Wonderful, as always, to have you all here with us as we bounce around the world of sports so far. Billy Napier was sued by now Georgia quarterback Jaden Rashada. You may remember that story. Rashada was a Florida Gator commit. He was a Gator commit because the NIL collective down there apparently promised him a deal somewhere in the neighborhood of like $13 million to sign on and be a brand new Gator. So he said, yeah, that actually sounds awesome. And for the record, it does. That does sound awesome. Except for the NIL collective accidentally forgot to have $13 million. And so Jaden Rashada wasn't going to get paid.
Hey, man, our bad. You know, we ain't got, sorry.
Oh, no, dude, I swear there's money in my account, bro.
You know what?
I don't know why my card's not going, dog. I swear there's money in my account, man.
We got hacked. You know what it is?
Identity theft.
My woman, man. She took all my money. I can't believe she did that.
Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Millions of Americans suffer every year. Anyway, they forgot to.
I'm guessing that's not what happened here. I think.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's what happened at all.
False promises.
Yeah,
possibly.
Yeah, I think they thought they were going to have $13 million, and then what they found out was that while there are a lot of people who are absolutely willing to let's kindly use the word invest here, invest in their football team. And I think it's fair. I think it's fair. Rob Brown annually. In fact, it's almost about that time. Annually restocks up on some new New Orleans Saints gear pretty much every year, right? That to me is an investment. It is an investment.
It's going to be cheaper for you this year, though.
It is. We suck.
No, because you buy a smaller size.
Oh, that's also true. Unfortunately, I don't think that it's going to be a huge drop in price of NFL gear. They don't tend to like giving less money. You have
never had to buy a 5X before.
That is also
which
true.
I had to do back in the day. You've seen me wear my Anthony Fasano. That is a 5X. You do have to pay extra when the material is as much as 2 jerseys.
What was your nickname back then?
The Fat Fabio.
Yeah!
Yes, that's right.
Best name in the history of radio. So I think what ultimately ended up happening here is that the market, that's it, the market. See, because as I said to you all when the NIL thing started and all of you started screaming, oh, it's the Wild West. There's no rules. I said, yo, why don't you hold up just a second? There's rules to everything in which money exchanges hands in return for goods and or services. That is quite literally the foundation of the economy that we all live in right now. I give you some money, you provide me with X good and or services. In the terms of football, it is I give you money, you entertain me for a few hours on the weekend, and hopefully every now and then win me a trophy that allows me to go tell all my friends how much their team sucks. That's the investment. That's the return on investment. And I think what happened is they just assumed if they tell a bunch of business people, hey, we got this kid, he's the dude, we need $13.5 million though, with the number of quarterbacks who were expected to be the dude and the fact that even Dr. Pepper got hung out to dry, right? You all remember Dr. Pepper signed a big old fat deal with DJ Uiagalelei a couple of years ago when NIL first came down the pipe for his time at Clemson. You remember, don't you, Clemson fans?
Yeah, he ended up in the one commercial where all the guys went through the transfer portal.
Yep.
That was him. He was like,
yep.
You didn't see his face, but you like saw his feet. He was like the first
That's
one.
the one.
Yeah, that was him.
And also all the other ones where he was like drinking Dr. Pepper and getting FaceTime on the TV because he was going to be him. He was going to be the dude. He was the game changer. He was the heir apparent to the throne of Clemson's QB1 position. And then he wasn't. Now, we can sit here and argue all day about whose fault that was. Was it DJ's fault? Was it Dabo's fault? Was it the then offensive coordinator's fault? Who do we place the blame for a lack of development of DJ Uyunglele? It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. What matters is that he wasn't good at Clemson. And now all of a sudden, Dr. Pepper was out like a lot of money. That's right. BY also caught that Dr. Pepper money. Dr. Pepper all of the sudden was out like a few $1 million for a quarterback who was getting bounced and benched very shortly after. I'm trying to find the exact number that contract was worth. I know it was like a lot, but they were hung out to dry, right? And so I think the market kind of corrects itself to some degree by businesses going, I'm probably not. I mean, I'm coming off a little bit for high-touted recruits, for sure. But I'm probably not going to be handing over double-digit $1 million figures to a guy that's a high schooler who's never played college football. It doesn't seem like a great investment strategy for me. And I think Florida learned that lesson, but unfortunately for the mighty Gators, they learned that lesson by being the first to get cooked. Somebody's got to be the first one to touch the wall to find out if the paint's actually dry, if you get my drift there. Well, Billy Napier has come out now. Florida head coach Billy Napier made his first comments on former Florida signee Jaden Rashada's lawsuit. Speaking at the SEC spring meetings, he said, and I quote, "I think it's important for everybody to understand that I can't comment due to the litigation, right? But I do have confidence in our legal team. I am comfortable with my actions, and I'm thankful for the university's support. We're going to keep it at that and kind of let the process run its course," end quote. Napier went on to say about the University of Florida and the potential damage that the university has suffered due to this. He said, quote, "A lot of this narrative has been out there for a long time, right? I think we got that." That's him saying, right, not me, by the way. That's a direct quote, just so we're all clear.
Right.
"A lot of this narrative has been out there for a long time, right? I think we got that question 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and I don't necessarily think it's slowed us down to some degree. So look, we're going to keep moving forward. This process has been ongoing. I think ultimately the NCAA process, we can't say much more than that. I think ultimately we have to treat all parts of our organization, recruits, families, we have to treat them just like we treat the media. The big thing is, just real thankful for the university's support. We've got confidence in our legal team." So Billy Napier spoke out, but he didn't really say anything, which makes sense. My guy's in the midst of a lawsuit that, again, could be worth like millions of dollars, because it's not just going to be the NIL deal, but it'll be the legal fees on top of that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've heard the question asked on social media, on other radio shows, and as a matter of fact, somebody asked it earlier. I played the audio. Somebody asked it of Greg Sankey, commissioner of the Southeastern Conference, at SEC Media Days. And I'm going to say this. I used the term earlier, college athletics post-settlement. I used the expression earlier, uncharted waters. And that is, in my ever so humble yet frequently correct opinion, exactly where we are. We are in uncharted waters. This is all new. It is not just all new to you and me. It's all new to these organizations. It's all new to these schools. It's all new to these players. It's all new to these managers. It's all new to these coaches. It's all new to the athletic directors. It's all new to the conference commissioners. It's all new to everybody up in here. So the answer is, I don't know. What I do know is this. Florida was the first school that got burned. They touched the stove first. to see if it was safe. Turns out it wasn't. Outside of that, I think at this point that just about anybody telling you this is what comes next is speculating at the best. If anybody says this is what is going to happen, this is how we go from here, I think they're speculating at the absolute best. Greg Sankey got asked about the NIL rules. Here's what he said.
Well, we need to have the settlement. We need to have the settlement terms. And even within those settlement terms, the expectation would be that we'll be looking at some of these state laws because they're all written differently. Some of them were written 3 and 4 years ago before the current, some of the current approaches were developed. Some of the transparency issues will be needed. So there's going to have to be some change. And yeah, we'll have to have some messaging around what state laws might need to be modified to facilitate that, the onset of the settlement.
How difficult?
Now the issues about how things are overseen and accountability, I think those will be part of this new chapter. And my desire would be, as we collaborate towards that kind of outcome, that will reinstate a healthier culture around meeting expectations, and when expectations are not met, the ability to provide the right kind of accountability in the right sort of time frame.
A lot of words to say. I don't know what happens. I think he hit one nail on the head, which is I will agree with what Greg Sankey said earlier in this whole thing, which is that we need a national standard. I do agree with that. I know a lot of this has been something that has fallen under that classic American argument, the one American argument that has existed since before America did, of states' rights. The ability of every state to make its own decisions about how it wants to run and how it wants to operate.
All right. So that's what bothered me about what he said. He said, we'll have to get those, basically get those laws changed in those states.
Yeah.
So what he's saying is the SEC is so powerful that they can get those laws changed.
No, I think what he's saying is when you look at how are we going to, as he talked about directly, how are we going to enforce, regulate, etc. The reality is either everybody's going to be on the same playing field under a national umbrella of guidelines, of rules, of regulations, or everybody's not. And if everybody's not, then there's no back wall. There's no guard ramp. There's no final spot. It's just going to be an arms race. And that is a point where even Rob Brown is going to look and go, we can go too far. There is a spot that is too far. And if you hit that spot, I get concerned about the ability for sports to exist outside of like a couple of the biggest schools in the most prosperous states. So I think they have to come up with regulations. I do think I agree with Greg Sankey in this case that there does need to be a set of national guidelines and regulations. But as of right now, until this settlement, we have some of the terms, not all of them. They all still have to be finalized in the court of law. Until these settlements are done, until we know what those rules are, until we know what those regulations are, and until we get to a point where somebody at the federal level steps in and says, this is it. This is how you're going to orchestrate, regulate, officiate, and enforce these rules, and is able to do so in a way that can stand up in a court, yeah, you're going to see more Jaden Rashadas down the line. You know what else you're going to hear? One more. Class A, 5-star, 10 of 10, 2 thumbs up sports flashes.
Eventually, we will have a Game 5 in the Western Conference after Minnesota avoided elimination with a 105-100 win over Dallas. Karl-Anthony Towns had his best game of the series, scoring 25. Once again, led and with 7 rebounds, rather, while Anthony Edwards once again led Minnesota with 29, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Luka Doncic recorded another triple-double in the loss. In the NHL, another overtime game between New York and Florida saw the Panthers bring the Eastern Conference to a 2-2 tie with a 3-2 win over the Rangers. Sam Reinhart finished a power play less than a minute and a half into overtime period for the win. Tune in this afternoon from 3 to 7 p.m. for our brand new local show, Wire to Wire. Cole, Bryson, and Diesel get you up to date on the latest local and national sports news. Great guests, great debate, and of course, a whole lot of fun. And you know what? It is all Wire to Wire. Do what?
Bring 3 down.
You can. Hit stop on Cool Edit.
There it is.
All right, go to the other one that's already been done. Just go up and you can do it that way, and just go ahead and get rid of that.
Fix that.
Yes, you've already saved it. Then minimize the call screener.
Bumped it into the edge.
Double click Cool Edit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let it. Where you at?
That's
Hey.
Go ahead and hit record on that. All right, then look at your clock and see how our time is.
It's a minute and a half. 2.
All right, so you're not counting the way. All right, so it's about to be 58. At 58, you need to look and see how much you got to add it to that time. So you're trying to time it out. So it's at 58:08 right now, 58:35, 59:35. That would get rid of the bet GM. All right, and go over into the hotkeys, and there is those are the hotkeys. All right, there's a thing that says the fan upstate lineup. To your right, down, not over there. You're in the hotkeys. Just calm down. You'll get there eventually. You're on the right row.
Right here?
Yes. Click that. Put it before the ID. No. You didn't click it. Did you? Click it, and then put it before the ID.
Right there?
Yes. All right. And I'll show you how to post the podcast when we're done.
This is the story of the one. As head of maintenance at Country Hall, he knows the show must always go on. That's why he works.
Mario still 9, or is he 9?
Yes, he should be here, and I just sent him the invite.
All right. Same as before, Mario's going to be coming in on StreamYard, so he'll be coming in on 1. Don't bring him up until Robert introduces him. You can go ahead and bring the call screener back so we can see if the phone rings. Although the light will light up, but still. Just click it.
Right there?
Yeah, just click it.
Yeah. This one have music? Since it's like a minute long?
The intro has music in it, yeah.
And away we go. The final hour of the radio program begins right now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Rob Brown Show. It is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, Upstate South Carolina? Hello, America. What's up, world? Great to be with you. A lot of we want to cover here in the final hour of the broadcast. But it is Wednesday, my dudes. It is 9 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesdays, we head up to Chicago, Illinois. Not for much longer, though, because Mario's a jerk, and he's leaving us, and he's just leaving the show that, made him. But whatever, it's fine. We'll still have him on this show anyway. I guess he is for I don't know what, 1 more week, 2 more weeks. I don't even know. The producer of Bet for the Cycle, which airs every Saturday on the BetQL network from noon to 4, and find Odyssey stations everywhere, and soon to be the executive producer of some other stupid show on that network. He is Hating Ass Mario, a.k.a. Mario Harem. What's up, dog?
On that other show, you can also find Rob Brown on it every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you tune in tonight because Rob Brown will be on it bringing the heat. Just would like to point that out. A little selfish promotion right there for you, Rob Brown. That's true. I want a better slot, though. I feel like there's a more primetime slot for me. Right, I feel like I deserve it.
I need to jump in here real quick because I went to bat for Mario a little bit earlier because Cody Decker was on here, and he said that you look like E.T. drowning with a wig on.
Before you respond.
Because I pointed out the best looking guy on that show, because the hair is awesome, is Mario.
Before he responds, I want you to know there's a 50-50 chance he's never seen E.T.
I've seen E.T. I have
Really?
seen E.T. Yeah.
I'll be darned.
So I defended you, and Cody looked like he got slapped in the face when I defended you. Like no one had ever defended Mario, and I feel bad for that you have to deal with those two guys. But I got your back always. Just wanted you to know that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. The ET, ow. I get, throwing a maybe not the best looking guy, maybe a little Sean Penn in the 90s stoner movie, whatever that was. You know what I'm talking about? Maybe that. I'll take that one.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Yeah, Fast Times. I'll eat that comparison, but ET, come on now.
Sean Penn was the man back in the day. And then
he was the man.
You got a little old and weird, but there's that.
I am pleasantly shocked and surprised, and in a weird way, a little proud that you've actually seen E.T. They made you watch it in elementary school, didn't they?
Yeah, big time. Yeah,
there it was.
They always made you watch it. I mean, I can't recite every line from it and can't give you the full story arc, but I'm just guessing guy sees alien becomes friend, then alien leaves.
Where did E.T. want to phone?
Home.
I'm so
proud. What are you
I'm
doing
so
here? Why is this? I thought you were going to talk NBA and you're grilling them on the ET.
Hey Mario, what's Rocky's last name?
Dude, come on, man. Bambola.
That's why.
Yeah, you need to.
That's why.
You probably need to perfect that in your new job, because if they find out, they're probably going to be brutal. I'm guessing. I don't know. They might be nice people, unlike Rob and Cody.
I'm gonna go ahead and tell you right now. I'm gonna ask you that on BetMGM tonight, Mario. I'm warning you. You're on an 11-hour countdown to have your bleep together by the time I'm on that show this evening.
I'm not looking forward to that. I'm just all right. Well, what are you gonna do? Also, shout out to Phone Home. That's from a Lil Wayne song too. The EP. Phone Home, Wheezy. Remember that? No, that was your generation a little bit.
Not a little bit. It was.
Yeah,
all right?
Exactly.
It was.
That sounds really old. Is that a really old song?
I mean, you got to define really old. I graduated high school 20 plus years ago. So yes.
Yeah. So I was young. So it was a minute ago.
Let's talk basketball with Hating Ass Mario Heron, the executive producer of Bet for the Cycle, on Saturdays noon to 4 for 1 more week. Then he shifts over to his new role as the EP on BetMGM tonight, which you'll be able to hear on this very radio station from 7 p till 11 p every single weeknight. All right. Minnesota extends the series. We're going to 5. We'll get into the X's and O's a little deeper, but there was one thing that happened here. Without Derek Lively, with Daniel Gafford being asked to do everything as the sole 7-footer, it opened up the floor for Karl Anthony Towns, and for the first time in the series, Cat actually responded to the opportunities that were in front of them. That's the game to me, Mario. Yes or no?
I think it's definitely part of it. I think Gafford actually stepped up huge in the extended minutes he did play. There was a huge back-to-back blocks he had on Cat in the fourth quarter. I think the bigger story to this whole thing, to be honest with you, Rob, is the fact that Ant said, I want the assignment of Luka, and then that moved Jaden over to Kyrie. And when that happened, Kyrie went from a 70.2% true shooting percentage in game 3 to a 41.4% true shooting percentage in game 4. I think that's the biggest thing in that game is that Kyrie was then put through kind of the ringer through Jaden, and then that helped Cat and Ant outscore Luka and Kyrie 54-44. First time in this series. And then what happens when you outscore them? You win the ball game. When your two best guys outplay the other two best guys in basketball, you tend to win the game. So I think that's kind of the bigger story there is what kind of the Timberwolves do then. Like, do they stay in that defensive assignment that they had? The only counter to that is, Ant got into some, not Ant. Yes, Ant, I'm sorry. Got into some foul trouble there. And it's like, do you really want to risk your star doing that? We'll see what, Finch will do with that. But that's the bigger thing to me is that Jaden moved to Kyrie, and Kyrie had his worst shooting percentage in all of the series.
I would agree. I think that was a big part of it, and that's a good observation. But again, I think it also kind of comes down to the two guys that have been hit or miss. Actually, it's not been hit or miss. Kyrie's been hit or miss, right? Like, Kyrie's had some games where he's hit and he's looked real good. Then he's had games like he did last night where just kind of MIAs at the wrong place at the wrong time. It's been all miss for Karl-Anthony Towns, which is too bad because the guy can ball. He is one of the few guys that is as much a threat from the three-point line as he is from the block. But I felt like when Dallas was able to keep fresh legs down there and effectively take away the block, because and this is what I said earlier on the show, if you're Cat and you're getting the ball outside, you got to play through the chest of a heads-up power forward defender, regardless of which four is on you, and then get to a 7-footer that you got to go through as well. Dallas, as much as Minnesota was built to beat the Denver Nuggets, it kind of feels like Dallas was built to beat the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's the reason why to me.
Yeah, I think it truly does make sense. I mean, Lively's back next game is like the report right now, and if that does happen, I do think it's gonna be a tougher game for Cat. When you have a guy like him that is a 6'11", 7 foot that can move and can drive the basketball, the best thing you can do is have multiple bigs that can throw at him. That's what the Mavericks have, to your point. And I think the thing that helps with guarding Cat and shutting down Cat, how do I put this lightly? His basketball IQ is maybe -5. Like, he's just not a smart basketball player. Doesn't mean he's not a good basketball player. He's a very good basketball player. He's just not a smart basketball player. And you saw that last night multiple times of when he has 5 fouls. And what does he do? He jumps on a pump fake and gets a foul. What does he do when he drives hard into PJ Washington? Again, a stupid foul. He elbows him in the face. It's like, dude, play smarter. Don't play harder. Play smarter. You're playing as hard as you can play. I don't think that I'll ever doubt that. His Cat leaves it all out there on the floor. It's just, buddy, be smart with the basketball. Be smarter on defense. And if he can be that, I think the Timberwolves can win this series, honestly. But at the same time, the counter to that, Rob, and I'm curious, honestly, to hear your thoughts. Wouldn't you just say, Cat, you sit, Nas, you play last minute?
It's hard to say no. The only thing I'd have is you sent Nas out there in game 3.
Yeah.
And he had 70,000 3-point shots. Like, dude could not miss, except for the one that would have won him the game. The guy could not miss. And then he comes out last night. He starts out 0 for 3, and then he never gets another clean look at it, right? And so where I fall on that is, much like with the Twin Towers reference, the double 7-footers down there, one of the things that I think a lot of people don't jump into enough is that basketball is, maybe more than any other sport, like, it's a game of matchups. It's a game of getting the guy on the guy that you want to get the guy on. That is why, to me, when I have coached in the past, the very first thing that I coach is how to set a good pick. Because a pick is a matchup creator. It just is. I want you to know how to take a charge, and I want you to know how to set a pick. And yes, I know that is boring old white guy basketball, but it's fundamental to be able to create those mismatches. Dallas has done it better, which is how they ended up in a spot at the end of game 3 where they've got Rudy Gobert defending Luka Doncic with a game on the line outside the 3-point line. I like Chris Finch. I like what he's done with his team. I like the guts on this Cat to have a torn PCL and still show up and coach every game. But man, when your team is just getting out mismatched like that and you don't fix it, what the hell do you expect is going to happen except multiple L's?
Multiple. And I think the other part of that too is I think you're seeing the inexperience of the Timberwolves a little bit. And what I mean by that is like just the young age sometimes in these guys, where you're seeing the Mavericks are just playing smarter. Like they just are. And I think you look at that, and a prime example of it is look how they close out games. And there's something similar between the Pacers and the Celtics that we saw, and the Timberwolves and the Mavs. You know, Luka's 25, and he's got a lot of playoff miles on him. Kyrie's 30 with a lot of playoff miles on him and an NBA championship. And then you look on the other side, your best player in Anthony Edwards is 22 years old. Okay, no all-star, top dog has ever taken his team to the NBA championship at 22 years old and won it, because it's just that hard to do, right? Like it's just that insanely difficult to do. Same thing on the Spurs. Incredibly young team. In the final seconds are facing a Celtics team that they've been playing in Eastern Conference Finals when they were 19 years old. And I literally mean that. Tatum and Brown were 19 years old playing in Eastern Conference Finals. So I think it just goes to the inexperience that you kind of see down the stretch of they just make little tiny mistakes that Mavericks can kind of take advantage of. And I'm interested to see when does the Mavs press kind of like the panic button, because right now it's all in the Timberwolves, because they lose, they're done, right? So they get this one. Can they get it on Thursday? Can they play free enough in game 5 to force a game 6? Can they do that? If they can't do that, then okay. When does the Mavs start freaking out? When do the Mavs start panicking and going, okay, guys, we got to start figuring this out. We guys like make sure we win this game. And also the other thing I think too, Rob, because it always happens, when does an injury come into play? Because that's both teams have been kind of relatively, besides the Lively thing, like if someone goes down too, this series can change quite a bit. I'm just happy we have this too, Rob, because if we had to wait until June 6th for the NBA Finals to start and we just had, hockey and baseball, I would say I'd be pretty depressed.
I would not. Hockey and baseball are both amazing, and I'm going to need you to put some respect on it. Second off, I can't tell you how much I hate you calling them the Sirs. I hate it.
Why?
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it.
What's
Number
wrong
one,
with the Spurs?
number one, because I thought you said Spurs, which is an actual team.
Yeah, I was over here trying to figure it out too.
I'm like, you do know the Spurs didn't play the Celtics this year, right? Like, and that might just be because you don't talk good on the radio. So that might be a part of it. But also the Sirs, like, they're not knights, right? Like, they're not riding horses onto the basketball court. What are we doing?
That could be an indie thing. That could be a little indie thing. That's on me.
It's
But
absolutely an indie thing. Literally, no one else is calling them the Sirs.
I got to admit, I still don't know who you're talking about.
The Indiana Pacers.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, that's not good.
Thank you. Even Lonzo, who was ready to go to war with Cody Decker to defend you an hour ago, even he's out on this one.
I can't believe you guys never heard anyone call them the Sirs.
I think you're the only person who calls them that.
Wow.
That's the conclusion I've just reached.
I mean, it could be starting a trend. It's a possibility. Someone has to start a trend.
I'm a trendsetter.
No, you're not.
Watch out for it.
No, you're not.
Trademark.
All right. You mentioned the June 6th is the beginning of the NBA Finals, which of course means that the Boston Celtics aren't doing anything until June 6th after they beat up on the Pacers in the sweep. I'll talk about Boston here in a second. I will say this: future's bright for Indiana. As long as you don't keep calling them the Sirs, the future's bright for Indiana. I mean, honestly, they gave Boston a couple of tough back-to-back games. I've made the argument. I don't necessarily think it's worth hinging on. One less stupid decision in game 1, Indiana wins that game. One less stupid decision in game 3, Indiana wins that game. And if Tyrese Halliburton's healthy in game 4, you win that game. I could reasonably see a 3-1 Indiana series instead of a 4-game sweep. But some things went wrong. You mentioned the concept of having experience. Playoff experience was gained. You come back next year, maybe add a piece, get Tyrese healthy. This team is going to be back.
They're going to be back. And I think the thing that stinks, and I was trying to navigate this yesterday, and I think I even talked to you about this on Monday. I want to make sure they don't fall into the Atlanta Hawks territory where you convince yourself you're something that you're not, right? Like when the Hawks made it to Eastern Conference Finals the next year, you had Trae Young going like, oh, we're bored of the regular season. Like we just care about the postseason. It's like, buddy, you guys got pretty lucky on that run. And I don't know if that luck's going to happen again. You look at the Spurs, as much as the Spurs did play really well, and you made a great point that the Spurs could have been up 3-1 in that series, they did have some luck, right? Like Giannis going out, that's some luck. Dame going out, that's some luck. You had the Heat not being 110% and you didn't have to face them at all. That's some luck. You had a lot of luck on the way. The Knicks were really, really banged up because Tom Thibodeau doesn't want to sit guys. Like you had some luck getting there. But that being said, the experience that you gained, and like you said, like what if they just add a really strong wing defender? Like what if they just add that? That's what they desperately need. What if Tyrese takes a really big step, a bigger step than he's made this past year? Who knows what happens? Rick Carlisle is a pretty veteran head coach, and what if he learns how to coach in the final 2 minutes of a game? Like that, it could be really, really dangerous come next season. I don't think they need to be like, we gotta add to free agency. I think they can be really, really calm with it and go, we have our team, we have our guys, we have a good core. Let's just keep going. And people forget, Bennedict Mathurin did not play. Bennedict Mathurin is a real hooper. Watch out for him next year. He's going to be a 20-point a game type of guy.
For the Sirs.
For the Sirs.
Ugh.
Old Hickory.
Ugh. I hate it so much. Mario Herron is the executive producer for Bet for the Cycle. It airs. Are you with us this Saturday or is it next Saturday you're back for one more?
Next Saturday. So I'm moving
Saturday.
Yeah.
Because he's moving to Washington, D.C. to take over as the executive producer for BetMGM Tonight, which airs on this station every single evening from 7 to 11. He'll be back next week. And that week's Parlay v. Parlay Challenge, if nobody wins it, is, for the second time in the history of the show, a double punishment. That's your send-off gift, bud. Your send-off gift is one more day. I feel like you got to do one more day of torture anyway, but if we can cause it, I'm happy to help.
Thanks. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Do you do that on your way out? I don't know what to do. I mean, I would think that people would appreciate all the hard work that you've done for that program, making it what it is, and not want to punish you on your way out.
Oh, you think wrong.
Yeah, that's what good people do.
Yeah, you're right. That's I don't know what I was thinking.
In fairness, if we lose, we're going to take it too. I'm just saying you're not walking off the show that made you who you are scot-free, bud.
All right, he's saying they're going to take it. Here's what they're going to do, because I've seen this happen before. Well, we all have to be present for that to happen, and it's no longer the team, so that bet doesn't count anymore.
No,
that's
Mario in the 3 years.
That's the host out.
In the 3 years of this show, how many bets have we reneged on? Any of us?
Honestly, none. Honestly, none. There was a good common ground met every single time. There was always a good common ground.
That's it. Which is why we torture him one more time before he moves over to BetMGM Tonight. Congratulations. I hate you.
Love you.
See you, buddy.
Mr. Bambola. See ya.
Rocky Bambola. Hating ass Mario again for one more ride next Saturday. EP of Bet for the Cycle every Saturday, noon to 4 on the BetQL Network with me and Cody Decker. He is moving over into the role of EP for BetMGM Tonight, weeknights, 7 to 11 on the Fan Upstate and fine stations everywhere. We are back after this with just a couple of segments left of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Make sure you play the music before the liner.
You want me to go ahead and stop the bid?
You can if you want.
All right, guys, I'm going to step away for 45 seconds. Y'all stay right there. Thanks.
right here.
Yeah, you didn't move anything.
You wouldn't have to ready to go.
Many patients lose 20 to 30 pounds in about a month or two. That's up to a pound per day. For your free consultation, call 864-719-2550 or go to mynewlifeweightloss.com. Our expert team will discuss your health goals, help determine the root causes of your weight issues, and put you on a path to success. Go to mynewlifeweightloss.com now.
I can't whistle. Can anybody else not whistle?
I can't whistle either, and I don't like people who can. So if you're a good whistler, then you're not my friend. Yes, you're annoying. Except for Bobby McFerrin. I'm okay with him because he makes me not worry and I feel happy.
Have I ever showed you the video of him interacting with a crowd where he shows that humans naturally find harmonies? Even if you can't sing, you can naturally find a harmony. It's one of the coolest
I think I
things
know
I've ever
some
seen.
people who could not harmonize no matter what.
I'll show you the video after the show. It's very cool.
That comment made me think of a certain hip hop song.
I know it. Hey, let's complain for just a minute, shall we? It's not like we don't do that every day on the show, but specifically about this one. Sunday, there was a baseball game up in Boston. Fenway Park. Did I start talking without you firing the liner? Is that what just happened?
No, the liner was fired, but I mean, I was, fading is a feel.
Yeah.
Fading. There's not an exact science to fading.
No.
You have to listen to the cadence of the person talking and decide, okay, here's a good point to bring it back. Sometimes you let it flow for a while, especially if the host is feeling it, they're bopping their head, they're into it, they're talking along with it. And then there are other times the host is ready to go and you gotta bring it down. So it's a matter of feel.
I hate the snarl on that because that song right there, it's a bop.
Right.
It's a bop, man.
Right.
That's like a Samoa Joe on his way to the ring. I'm ready to light somebody up. Bop.
But by the way, people listening and people on the stream, you're welcome because there's more to it than you think than just push the button and pull that thing down.
I mean, winning awards around here is intricate. It's hard work. Fenway Park Sunday, the Boston Red Sox and the Milwaukee Brewers were playing a little baseball game at Fenway Park. In the midst of the seventh inning, Boston reliever Chris Martin covered first base on a ground ball by the Brewers' Christian Yelich. As Martin walked back to the dugout, he said something to Milwaukee first base coach Quentin Berry that compelled Berry to respond angrily. Dominic Smith attempted to calm Berry down. Then Martin turned back to confront the coach. This provoked plenty of other Red Sox and Brewers to run on the field and get involved. So we had a benches clearing not fight. Everybody came off. It was like that dude at the bar that takes his shirt off. You're like, you're the last dude that's going to throw a punch, bro. Relax.
So typical baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen a handful of really good fights over the years, but for the most part, it's running out and running into. It's basically a mosh pit.
I'm just going to go with anybody who is good with or enjoys getting punched in the face gets punched in the face for a living. People playing baseball, with the exception of like a very small limited number of psychopaths, are trying to get punched in the noggin, man. Not trying to take one to the nose. Anyway, after the game, Chris Martin was talking to the New England Sports Network in the post game and got asked, "Hey, yo, broski, what triggered that whole thing? How'd that go down?" Quentin Martin said that he was a little bit upset. Why was he a little bit upset? He was a little bit upset because Martin, who was working a deep game effort there at that point in the ball game, had not allowed a hit. And wouldn't you know it, just like that, the Brewers bunted. The audacity!
Unwritten rules being broken.
That's
no wonder.
exactly
I mean,
it.
you get a fight every time over that.
Every time. The old unwritten rule that if a guy has not given up a hit, you do not lay down a bunt. Now, I'd like to point out that the game was close. The game was close. It was a very winnable game for both the Boston Red Sox and for the Milwaukee Brewers. It was a very close game, and it was a close game between a Brew Crew squad that is 31-23 and that is in first place in the NL Central, a full 3.5 up on the Cubbies. And it was a very close game between the Brew Crew and the Red Sox of Boston, who aren't good, but they're not bad. They're 28-27, which if you play in the SEC is good enough to get you into the regional.
I was going to say, technically, that's a winning team.
I mean, technically is the best kind of correct. So, long story short, the Red Sox, though they are not going to be in it at the end of the race for the AL East pennant, they are alive in it right now. On the flip side, the Brewers are not just alive in the NL Central, they actually lead the NL Central. The point is, this game mattered, as does every game right now, unless you play for the Angels, the Athletics, the White Sox, the Rockies, the Marlins, maybe the Reds, but they're in the NL Central, and they're only 7.5 game back. So unless you're a member of one of those teams, we are still in a point of the season, Diesel, where every regular season game matters. We are at a part in the season where you might get into the end of the year and you might find out that you, as the Chicago Cubs did last year, missed the playoffs by a game.
I know you keep saying that and you keep going at Diesel, but I'm on Diesel's side on this. How often does it come down to a game?
Literally every year there's a team that gets bounced by a game.
No.
Literally every year. It happened, if I recall correctly, it happened last year. It was Chicago. It happened to a team the year before that. I cannot remember. And I would also point out,
you have so many games that you can make up that one game that you lost.
Correct. And yet still at the end of the season, it comes down to one game. And so if I'm in a spot where I break up your no-no because my team can't hit the ball for whatever reason, maybe you got filthy stuff, maybe I can't get the bats caught up to your heater, maybe Jobu doesn't have his juju working in the locker room, bleep you Jobu, I do it myself. Like whatever the reason is, if I can't hit the ball, yet I find myself in the 5th or 6th or 7th inning, and I'm trailing by a run, and especially if I'm in a division that I said preseason, I think the NL Central is going to be one of the most competitive divisions, not just in Major League Baseball this year. I think the NL Central might this year be one of the most competitive divisions in a very long time in Major League Baseball. So if I'm the Brew Crew and I know the Cubbies are breathing down my neck, I know the Cardinals have won 8 out of their last 10 and are suddenly back at 500. I know the Pirates have Paul Skeens out there, and he's disgusting right now, and he's getting some stuff done, and they might be able to catch up with me. If all these things are happening, and I know that I've been playing 500 ball, as the Brewers always do, for the past 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks at this point. If I know all these things are happening, and I can lay down a bunt to get Christian Yelich, one of the faster dudes on my team, on the bags and create a spot where maybe he's still second and he's in runner and scoring position, and then maybe I just get that double that's been kind of brewing all day. Pardon the pun. and I can go score a run, and now all of a sudden it's a tie ball game, and then maybe I got a chance to kind of heat the bats up a little, get back into this thing, win this damn baseball game. And now if I get to the end of the season and I lose a spot in the playoffs, or excuse me, if I win a spot in the playoffs and I get in by a half a game or I get in by a game, I'm not going to look back at Sunday, March 20, what was that, 6? I don't know. Dates are hard. And go, welp, at least Boston got their no-hitter, right? I would trade 1,000 Philadelphia no-hitters for the Braves to sneak in as the last wild card team by a single game and give themselves a shot. But no, here we are clearing the benches because a guy had the audacity to, checks notes, get on base in a baseball game. You know, baseball, a game you have to get on base to win. Baseball. Yet another unwritten rule. Dumb moment in baseball history. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
So it's basically the same thing every time. Stop looking at me. Just do it. Do it. The thing that you're supposed to do, do it. Go ahead and get your next bet in.
Do it.
I will also point out that I am the nicest person who you will train with. So keep that in mind. Diesel will give you a look the entire time that will make you wish that you could curl up and cry. So
not me.
Be prepared for that.
I scared him.
I just look at his beard. I never look at in the eyes. If you look at the beard, I mean, you're just so amazed that the eyes can't get to you.
I need to put my tablet on the charger.
2 minutes.
Don't need it.
All right. In channel 3, put up the Rob Twitter. That's it. All right. And so at 50, I will want you to play that. So it's, I mean, that's
Heading out, right?
We'll be in the middle of the segment. It'll be 50. He will stop talking for a second. And if not, hit it anyway at 50, or just look at me in this case and I will tell you. That's so we can do what the X. That is what they call a benchmark. So it happens at the same time every day. Also, you see where it says selected hotkey Rob Twitter X right there?
Yeah.
Hit the X there. And the reason why is so that spot is still hanging there. Even though you put it there, it doesn't count it. So if you would have clicked somewhere else, it would have put it somewhere else too.
Also,
Whatever it is, if you think of it in 24 minutes, we'll have plenty of time to talk about it. I'm not hazing, Steven. Hazing has pain involved.
No, there's no hazing.
$706.6 million. That is how much the Atlantic Coast Conference generated in the year 2022-23. That works out to about $44.8 million for its 14 football playing numbers. That is an impressive 14.5% increase over the previous year, and the second largest year-over-year increase in league history. It's pretty solid, right? Good numbers, real good numbers. If you're the ACC, you got to be pretty happy with a 15% increase in revenue and $706.6 million incoming based on your athletic prowess. You gotta be pretty good with that. So why might FSU and Clemson still be considering leaving if those schools are making more money this year than they've ever made before? I will tell you the answer. The answer is because despite record growth in the Atlantic Coast Conference, this is after multiple years of Clemson winning titles. This is after Florida State going 13-0 and winning the ACC and making the playoffs. Oh, wait. Despite all of those things happening, the SEC and the Big Ten both made a lot more money. The ACC brought in $706.6 million. The Big Ten brought in $880 million. The Southeastern Conference, $852.6 million. And spoiler alert.
Wait. So the Big Ten made more money than the SEC?
That is correct, sir.
Okay.
To the tune of
because you reversed order there. You usually put the highest. Okay.
Yeah, I did. You're right. I should have gone SEC 852.6, then Big Ten at 880. Either way, kind of sucks if you're the ACC, right? That's why. That's why these schools went out.
Why is there a discrepancy? Is it because
TV money?
So it's only TV money.
TV money. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And why would those other conferences get more TV money? Is maybe those teams and those conferences more popular and more people want to watch those?
The brand, dog. Everything in sports is a business. Yes. Even your beloved college sports. Everything is a business. This is a markup of tickets and merch. This is a markup of bonus payouts for, I don't know, making a playoff, et cetera, et cetera. Now, obviously, this is 22-23 numbers, so this does not include the FSU run last year. This is basically the era where Clemson was carrying the flag for the ACC, and they may again this year. We'll find out. But, yeah. According to ESPN, the ACC saw a 9% increase in television media revenue as it entered its third full year of distribution for the ACC network. The average distribution per school is up 13.7% higher than the year before and has increased since the 2015-2016 school year 88% over what it was before. Just to put that into distribution, on top of the money that Notre Dame gets from NBC for being their outlet of choice, they also receive $22.1 million, about half of what the rest of the ACC schools receive for being a member in the conference for all sports except football. Jim Phillips got a whopping $2.76 million for that fiscal year, while former Commissioner John Swofford was listed as second highest paid at $2.59 million. Since his retirement in 2021, Swofford has made nearly $6 million from the ACC. It was a banner year for the ACC. It was a huge jump up in revenue. And yet still, if you are a member of the Atlantic Coast Conference right now, you are bringing in tens of millions of dollars fewer than the schools in the two major conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC. Now, if you're a Big Ten or an SEC fan, your response to this likely is a Millhouse laugh. Ha ha! Oh, that's Nelson, not Millhouse. Millhouse got laughed at.
You need to get it right. I mean, because some people will come after you if you do that wrong. I'm surprised you don't have that on your.
You know, I thought I did. I thought I had picked it, but I did not. I need to. Dibs. It's mine now. Dibs.
Yeah, but not dibs on all Simpsons. Just that. Unless you're calling dibs on all Simpsons.
I feel like I'm going to grab Homer's dope as well too. That's a classic.
All your cuts are negative. You should find some more positive.
That's not true. I have some very positive, uplifting ones like
my loins have been tingling.
All right, uplifting. I see what you did there. Yeah, that's definitely okay. All right. Okay. All right.
Nobody's perfect, but I am very, very close.
I stand corrected.
That'll be great, man.
Anyway, point here is that's why they want to leave. Okay? Got it? Everybody good? Everybody understand now? That's why they want to leave. It is the fact that they cannot renegotiate this deal until 2036. That is why they want out. It's not complicated. And I have news for you. Next year, at this time, unless something happens, Lonzo will be in that chair over there, and I will be in this chair here, and I'll say into these microphones right here, hey, the numbers are out for the fiscal year 2023, 2024, and would you look at that? The ACC had another banner year. Another increase in television revenue, another increase in revenue as a whole. They made all the money. Congrats. And also, the gap between the two power conferences in the ACC has grown exponentially. It is higher than it has ever been, and it is never going to go the other direction. They will never catch up, and the Big Ten and the SEC will never slow down. That's it. That's the whole conversation. I could sit here and ramble on as long as you want me to. But at the end of the day, this is not all that complicated. The reality here is the ACC cannot catch up. And if you are a member and you are watching the individual schools in the Power 2, the SEC and the Big Ten, as they shall forever be known, if you are watching the individual schools in the Power 10 already raking in tens of millions of dollars annually, more than you are making from the conference, and you know for a fact that moving forward, that number is going to grow and is likely going to grow like a lot and real fast. You can't stay. You can't stay. We talked about roster caps earlier, that the NCAA is considering moving a roster cap. So instead of having 85 scholarships, but you can have as many players as you want, you could have, let's say, 95 players, and you could hand every single one of them a scholarship. You as a school have the right to manage your money the way that you wish, and if you wish to give every single player a scholarship, you are welcome to do so. However, you can only have X amount of players, and that's for all sports across the board. The reason that they are running with that is because all of the lawsuits against the NCAA are all antitrust lawsuits. And so the NCAA right now is looking and saying, how do we end up in a spot where we have fair, balanced competition with parity from every school top to bottom, but also do so in a way that we are not restricting how schools may spend their own money? How do we do so in a way where schools are not being told you cannot take the money that is yours and utilize it for X or Y or Z? And the answer is, okay, we won't restrict how many scholarships you can hand out. We're just going to restrict the number of players you can have on a team. That is controlling a roster, not your money. And I'm sure down the line, there'll be some coaches that want to file a lawsuit about that because they want as many guys dressed out as they can get for the purposes of depth and warm bodies for practice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There will be a lawsuit about it. I don't know that it will win. I, off the top of my head, don't think that it would win. We'll find out. But when you are watching the changes that are being made, if you are a Clemson, if you are a Florida State, a North Carolina, a Miami, a Duke, and you are watching, hell, Vanderbilt is making more money than Florida State University. Kentucky is making more money than Clemson is right now. Missouri making more money than North Carolina or Miami right now. I think you got to look at that and go, yeah, this don't work for me. That's going to be a big no from me, dog. Absolutely not. This is why the lawsuits. This is why the push. We've been saying it over and over to the point that some of y'all are probably like, we get it. Rob, stop, please. I'm begging you. And I understand. I'd love to stop talking about it. And we will one day. One day. Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray. I'm going with Sugar Ray. We will stop talking about it one day. When our lives have passed us by.
Okay. Because
we'll wait around and wonder why.
Still not getting it.
You were always there for me.
Not a big Sugar Ray guy.
I love Sugar Ray. Mark McGrath. Legend. Love it. Anyway, point here is
he was good in Scooby-Doo.
He was in Scooby-Doo.
You don't remember the live action Scooby-Doo?
I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I couldn't bring myself to watch it. I was too big of a Scooby-Doo fan to watch it.
No, it was not bad. It really is. I enjoyed it.
I feel like that's a thing people say. I'd have watched it. Isla Fisher was in it. I'd have watched it for Isla Fisher. For sure.
Was she the
Pamela
one?
Anderson was in it?
There was a lot of people in that. Freddie Prinze Jr. was Fred.
Yeah, no, I know that.
It was great.
I know that.
Matthew Lillard as Shaggy. I mean, he did a great job.
He did a real good job, too. You're not wrong. Velma had no right being that attractive.
Well, she was very attractive.
Yeah,
yes.
No right. No,
You
that's
should watch it
Daphne's job. That's Sarah Michelle Gellar's job.
Yeah, but you know.
Point here is Sugar Ray references aside, and then left-hand turn into Scooby-Doo live action aside. We will stop talking about it one day. That day is not anytime soon. You want to know why they're leaving? Yeah, I know we've talked about it. Now you have the numbers. Now you have the figures. Now you have the budgetary reasons why.
And now the Rob Brown Show presents Twitter.
I just looked up the IMDb for the Scooby-Doo live action, and there's an actor, and I don't know who he played in it, but his IMDb page is a headshot of the character that he voiced in Skyrim, and that's hilarious to me.
What character was it?
I don't know. One of the barbarian dudes.
Oh, okay.
One of the Forsworn. One of those dudes.
Oh, okay. Forsworn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate those guys.
Yeah.
All right. The first thing that's Xing.
Wait a minute. Alicia Silverstone was in this movie?
Dude, a lot of people were in that movie.
I'm gonna have to watch it.
Mark McGrath was not only a musical act, but was I think he died in it. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure he might.
Okay, well,
no, or he was a zombie. He was a zombie. Yes. You know who the bad guy was, don't you?
I do not.
Well,
I didn't watch
it's
it.
been out forever. Scrappy-Doo is the bad guy.
Oh, that's why I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Because a lot of people hate Scrappy. They do. I'm not the big Scrappy fan, but I don't absolutely hate him. All right. The first thing that is Xing, is Kelsey.
That movie is 22 years old.
Yeah, it's pretty old. It's pretty old.
Kelsey is trending, and it could be either one of the two for a variety of reasons. On one hand, Travis showed up earlier this week at an NBA playoff game, at a Mavericks game, and was loudly booed by the Dallas fans from around the building. Jason talked about, oh God, I just blanked from my brain. He talked about, what did he talk about? He talked about something.
Well, I will tell you, it's neither one of them.
Was it Mrs. Kelsey?
Yes.
Was it Mrs. Jason Kelsey? Was it
Yes.
Mrs. Jason Kelsey's commencement address?
No, it was actually, they were out on a date and a fan wanted a picture and was aggressive, and she told the fan off to the point where it looked like they had to be separated.
I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now, on the list of wags that I would not mess with, Madam Jason Kelsey's up at the top. She seems to me like she's a bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a bad.
So
I love her. I love her. By the way, she's amazing.
She is. She is. Love it whenever she's on the podcast. Plus, she does a bunch of other stuff, and she deals with Jason. I mean, which cannot be easy.
I tell people all the time, it is very fair. It is very fair for my fiance to be exhausted at the end of the day where she spends with me, because she has to put up with me. It's and Jason's, I'm going to go with, and I don't mean this to sound like Rob's talking. I feel like Jason and Kelsey and I in our real lives are very similar in that we're just a lot and loud all the time. Like there's just no off. There's no calm down. It's full tilt or asleep and nothing in between. And she's got to live with that.
Yeah. The other thing is, I mean, it's pretty cool to come up and say, hey, I'd like to say hi and all that kind of stuff. But if you're told, hey, we're on a date night, let it go.
Yeah.
I mean, just let it go. I know it's a rare moment to meet a celebrity, but let it go. All right. The next thing is Xing is Wolves in 7.
Also, don't, unless it's me or Lonzo, don't interrupt them if they're like being a regular person.
No,
right?
no.
Like if you see Lonzo or I eating dinner, come up, ask for a hug, say hi.
Stop it.
Take a selfie.
Yeah. And make sure you
whatever.
linger and just watch me eat.
Yeah.
Man, I love that.
Yeah. Big fan. Yeah. If you ever see Lonzo and I in public, absolutely come up, ask for a hug. Take a picture,
And
whatever. That's
be
fine.
ready to catch the food that will fly out of my mouth if you're watching me.
Just like, but if you walk outside and you see people like having dinner, leave them alone.
All right. Wolves in 7 is trending.
So there's a lot of people that think this is going to happen. Now, I'm going to tell you it's not. And I'm going to tell you it's not because Derek Lively is coming back. And if Derek Lively comes back, then Karl Anthony Towns is not going to have free run to the basket like he did last night because it's get by a power forward and there's nobody behind him. There will be multiple lines of defense, which is how you stop Karl Anthony Towns. However, the internet thinks the Wolves in 7, and I'm not. No.
All right. The last thing that's Xing is Joe Hendry.
I believe. Do you believe?
I believe. And a lot of people believe that he should do a crossover into NXT since other people are doing it.
I think he should do a crossover with every wrestling organization that would put him on my television 7 nights a week. I believe in Joe Hendry. That's it for us, kids. If you don't know Joe Hendry, go look at him on YouTube. It's absolutely hysterical, and you'll see why Lonzo are fans. Y'all have a lovely rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Rashad Beard will stop by to talk Carolina Panther football. Lonzo will host Fight Club, where we'll talk wrestling, boxing, MMA, all of that on tomorrow's edition of the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate later. Yeah! Congratulations, everybody. We did it.
All right, so now we really need to count.
All right, we're going to leave because Lonzo's got to count. So we'll see you all tomorrow. Thanks for being here. You're all spectacular. Bye, everybody.